Tapos na ang oras, hinto na sa pagsulat. Kumusta naman ang iyong ginawang pagbabudget? Nadalian ka ba o nahirapan? Ganyan ang nararanasan ng iyong mga magulang araw-araw. Kailangan nilang pagkasyahin ang kanilang kinita upang maibigay ng sapat ang pangangailangan ng buong pamilya. Kaya nararapat natin silang saluduhan. Teka, bakit tungkol sa pagbabudget ang ginawa natin ngayon? Sa palagay mo kaya, ano ang bagong aralin natin sa araw na ito? Tumpak! Ang aralin natin sa araw na ito ay tungkol sa lipunang pang-ekonomiya. Ano nga ba ang ibig sabihin ng salitang ekonomiya? Tutulungan tayong sagutin yan ng inyong guro sa economics na si Ma'am DY. Ma'am DY?
Kung maglakbay kaya muna tayo sa bansang Greece, kung saan nagmula ang salitang economics.
Dagdag kaalaman, ang economics ay nagmula sa salitang Greek na oikonomiya o oikonomeia na nangangahulugang oikos, bahay, nomos, pamamahala. Kung kaya't kapag ito ay pagsasamahin, ito ay nangangahulugang pamamahala ng bahay o sa wikang Ingles ay household management.
Ang ekonomiya ay tulad lamang din ng pamamahala sa bahay. Mayroong sapat na budget ang mga nakatira rito. Kailangan nila itong pagkasyahin sa lahat ng bayarin kagaya ng tubig, kuryente, pagkain, at iba pang gastusin upang makapamuhay sila ng maayos. Sa mas malaking pagtingin, ang ekonomiya ay ang pagkilos na masiguro na ang bawat bahay ay natutustusan ang pangangailangan sa araw-araw. Pinangungunahan ito ng Estado na nangangasiwa sa patas na pagbabahagi ng yaman ng bayan. Sa lipunang pang-ekonomiya, gumagawa ng paraan ang bansa na makalikha ng mga pagkakataon na makapamuhunan ang mga may kapital upang mabigyan ang mga mamamayan ng hanap buhay. Sinisikap din ng Estado na maging patas para sa lahat ng tao ang mga pagkakataon upang sila ay makapagtrabaho ayon sa kanilang kakayahan. Bilang babalik na ikot, ang bawat mahusay na paghahanap buhay ng mga tao ang nagiging dahilan upang umunlad ang bansa. Kung maunlad ang bansa, higit na mamumuhunan ang mga may kapital, Pilipino man o banyaga, na siyang lilikha pa ng maraming trabaho para sa ating mga kababayan. Ito ngayon ang magiging dahilan upang tumaas ang antas ng pamumuhay ng bawat isa. E paano naman natin malalaman kung ang kalagayan ng ekonomiya ng ating bansa ay patuloy na bumubuti? Ang paglago ng ekonomiya ay makikita sa pagtaas ng antas ng kakayahan ng isang lipunan na makapagbigay ng iba't ibang produkto at serbisyo. Kung ang mga sitwasyon na nagpapakita ng isang mabuting ekonomiya ay mangyari sa ating bansa, maraming magagandang bagay ang posibleng maidulot nito sa atin. Narito ang ilan sa kanila. Una, mas marami tayong mga kababayan ang magkakaroon ng trabaho. Dahil marami ng mamumuhunan sa ating bansa, mas maraming kumpanya at negosyo na ang magbubukas. At kasabay nito, mas maraming trabaho na ang maaaring pasukan ng mga tao. Pangalawa, maraming pamilya na ang may kakayahang tugunan ang kanilang mga pangangailangan. Dahil mas maraming tao na ang magkakaroon ng trabaho, mas malaki ang tsansa ng bawat pamilya na umangat ang estado ng pananalapi. Dahil dito, mas makakayanan na ng bawat pamilya ang matugunan ang kanilang lahat ng pangangailangan, maging ang kanilang mga karagdagang kagustuhan. At pangatlo, mas mararamdaman na ng mga tao ang kaginhawahan sa buhay. Bilang mag-aaral, maaapektuhan ka ba sa kahit anong mangyari sa ating lipunan? Ang sagot? Oo naman. Hindi ibig sabihin na dahil ang ekonomiya ay tungkol sa pera, trabaho, negosyo at pangangailangan, ay hindi ka nakasali rito. Tandaan mo, kasali ka sa ekonomiya. Kung ano man ang mangyari dito, ay siguradong maaapektuhan ka. Sa paanong paraan? Panoorin mo ito. Dahil sa maganda ang takbo ng ekonomiya ng bansa, malayang natutugunan ng pamilya ni Jeffrey ang lahat ng kanilang pangangailangan. Bukod sa may magandang trabaho sa isang kumpanya ang kanyang ama, may negosyo ring restaurant na naitayo ang kanyang ina. Lahat silang magkakapatid ay nag-aaral sa pribadong paaralan. Mayroon silang magarang bahay at sasakyan na ibibigay rin ng mga magulang ni Jeffrey ang lahat ng kanilang kagustuhan. Ngunit isang araw, nagkaroon ng matinding krisis ang bansa. Tumaas ang inflation rate at labis na naapektuhan ang ekonomiya. Dahil dito, maraming kumpanya ang nagbawas ng mga empleyado at ang iba ay tuluyan ng nagsara. Kabilang dito ang kumpanyang pinapasukan ng kanyang ama at humantong ito sa kawalan niya ng trabaho. Nalugi rin ang negosyong restaurant ng kanyang ina dahil karamihan ng mga tao ay pinipili na lamang kumain sa mga mumurahing kainan o di kaya'y nagbabao na lamang upang makatipid. Tumagal ang krisis pang-ekonomiya na ito ng halos 2 taon. Naubos ang ipon ng mga magulang ni Jeffrey at hindi na nila makayanan na ipagpatuloy ang pag-aaral nila sa pribadong paaralan. Napilitan ng kanyang mga magulang na ilipat sila sa public school upang makabawas sa pagbabayad ng tuition fee. Kung dati ay nabibili ng pamilya ni Jeffrey ang kanilang mga kagustuhan, ngayon ay labis na ang ginagawa nilang pagtitipid. Doon nakita ni Jeffrey na may direktang epekto sa kanya ang anumang mangyari sa ekonomiya ng bansa. Gaya ng narinig mo sa kwento, anumang magiging kalagayan ng ekonomiya ay may direktang epekto sa iyo. Tandaan, ang ekonomiya ay may direktang epekto sa iyo kahit ikaw ay mag-aaral pa lamang. Kaya naman, kailangan mo ring gumawa ng paraan nang sa gayon, ikaw ay maging handa sa kung anuman ang maaaring mangyari dito. Pwede kang magtipid ng pera o di naman kaya ay gamitin ito sa tamang paraan. Tara na't gamitin natin ang iyong mga nalaman sa totoong buhay. Nais kong sagutan mo ang tanong na ito sa loob ng 1 minuto. Isulat mo ang iyong sagot sa iyong papel. Halimbawang nagkakaroon ng krisis sa bansa at hindi naging maganda ang lagay ng ating ekonomiya. Bilang parte ng inyong pamilya, anong mga hakbang ang maaari mong gawin upang maipakita ang iyong pakikiisa? Nais kong magbigay ka ng 3 halimbawa. Time's up! Nahirapan ka ba? Narito ang mga pwede mong gawin upang ikaw ay makatulong sa iyong pamilya sa oras ng krisis pang-ekonomiya. Una, mag-ipon ng pera. Pangalawa, unahin munang bilhin ang pangangailangan kaysa sa mga pansariling kagustuhan. Pangatlo, magbenta ng mga sariling kagamitan gaya ng pre-loved shirts at iba pang items. Pang-apat, magtipid sa paggamit ng tubig at kuryente. Panglima, huwag magsayang ng pagkain. At pang-anim, magnegosyo kahit maliit lang ang puhunan. Tama ba ang iyong mga kasagutan? Binabati kita! Para sa ating pagtataya, isulat ang salitang tama kung tama ang pahayag at isulat ang salitang mali kung mali ang pahayag. Mayroon ka lamang 5 segundo para sagutan ang bawat bilang. Una, ang ekonomiya ay nagmula sa mga salitang Griego na oikos na ang ibig sabihin ay bahay at nomos na ang ibig sabihin naman ay pamamahala. Ang wastong sagot ay tama. Pangalawa, nagpapakita ng mabuting lagay ng ekonomiya ang tuluyang pagtaas ng bilihin. Ang wastong sagot ay mali. Ang pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin ang isa sa indikasyon na hindi mabuti ang kalagayan ng ekonomiya. Pangatlo, walang direktang epekto sa isang kabataan ang anumang mangyari sa kalagayan ng ekonomiya. Ang wastong sagot ay mali. Kahit anong edad ng tao ay makararanas siya ng direktang epekto sa kung anuman ang maging kalagayan ng ekonomiya. Pang-apat, ang pagbili ng pangunahing pangangailangan kaysa sa kagustuhan ay isang mabisang paraan ng pagtitipid. Ang wastong sagot ay tama. At panghuli, ang lipunang pang-ekonomiya ay maihahalin tulad sa pamamahala ng budget sa isang bahay. Ang wastong sagot ay tama. Anong score mo? Kung tama lahat ng iyong sagot, mahusay. Kung may hindi naman, tandaan mong may pagkakataon ka pang bumawi sa ating mga susunod ng aralin. Bago tayo matapos sa ating aralin, ay bibigyan kita ng karagdagang gawain upang mas mapagyaman mo pa ang iyong mga natutunan sa ating aralin ngayon. Nais kong sagutan mo ang karagdagang gawain na nakasulat sa iyong self-learning module. Sigurado kung marami ka na namang natutunan sa aralin natin ngayon. Pwede mo itong ibahagi sa iba upang mas maraming tao pa ang magkaroon ng matalinong pag-iisip, mabuting puso at makataong pagkilos. Muli, ako si Teacher Janjan. Isang magandang araw sa inyong lahat at magkita-kita tayo muli dito lang kung saan masayang mag-aral ng ESP, ang DepEd TV. Paalam!
there will be no face-to-face classes.
We will be using our own teachers as broadcasters in this TV program.
Huwag kang mag-alala. Good morning, everyone. Are you ready?
Hi everyone! I hope you are having an amazing day. This is Teacher Kevin A. Domingo once again, your kind of K. We can go serious. We can go funny. We can go real. We can go fancy. But every time I teach, I do it with sincerity. This is DepEd TV. Last time we discussed photosynthesis. We learned the process of making food for plants. It involves the energy from the sun, water, and carbon dioxide. It gives off oxygen and makes simple sugar like glucose. The standard formula for photosynthesis is 6 atoms of carbon dioxide plus water through the energy from the sun absorbed by the chlorophyll will yield glucose and oxygen. We also discussed about the processes involved in it, such as the photo part and the synthesis part. The photo part covers the light-dependent reactions, and the synthesis part covers the light-independent reactions. The light-independent reactions is also known as the Calvin cycle or the dark reactions. Again, let us review them by looking at the table of comparison. Light-dependent reactions happen at the thylakoid, where the chlorophyll, a green pigment of the plant, absorbs the photons or energy from the sun, while the light-independent reactions happens at the stroma. Light-dependent reactions require the presence of light, while light-independent reactions do not. The reactants for the light-dependent reactions are water, NADP+, and ADP plus phosphorus, while the reactants for light-independent reactions are carbon dioxide, ATP, and NADPH. The products of light-dependent reactions are oxygen, ATP, and NADPH, while the products of the light-independent reactions are glucose, NAD+, and ADP plus phosphorus. Both processes require and generate ATP. Both utilizes the electron transport chain through oxidation reduction, and both utilizes the ATP synthase. Did you see that kind of extreme exercise? When you do an exercise, you move the different parts of your body, just like your arms and your legs. Learners, I encourage you that even though you are at home, you should make an exercise by just simply sweeping the floor, cleaning the house, or folding your clothes. Just like a car, it has to have enough fuel inside its tank for it to run. Otherwise, you will not be able to go to any place.
Food is essentially a source of energy for our body. Have you experienced skipping a meal? It feels so terrible. You're like a cell phone with low battery charge. You cannot move actively. You become dull and weak. That is almost hard for you to push or pull objects. What is it with the food that makes it a source of energy? It is the molecule called the ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. There is a process that our cells go through to provide themselves with power. The process is called cellular respiration. It is how we derive energy from the food that we eat. Most of the food that we eat, like rice, bread, cereals, and many more, turning into glucose. Cellular respiration requires glucose and oxygen to produce energy, while the carbon dioxide and water are the byproducts. Before we can use the glucose from the food that we eat into a usable form of energy, it has to be converted first. We have the chemical formula for one molecule of glucose. It is C6H12 and O6.
And in order to turn this glucose into energy, we need to add 6 molecules of oxygen. Now, we are going to turn the glucose and oxygen into molecules of carbon dioxide and 6 molecules of water. Again, glucose and oxygen are the reactants, while carbon dioxide, water, and ATP are the products. Now, do you think we can use it already? Not yet. Our body still has to turn it into a more specific form of stored energy, and we call it as ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. It is sometimes referred to as the currency of biological energy.
The same goes with energy. Before we can use it, it has to be converted into ATP, and that is the only way we can use it as a form of usable energy. It is evident in many life processes such as moving, growing, and creating impulses in the brain, among others. Now, let us compare cellular respiration and photosynthesis.
In terms of process, cellular respiration is a process that releases energy, while photosynthesis is a process that absorbs energy. In terms of energy requirement, cell respiration uses chemical energy from the food, while photosynthesis uses light energy from the sun. In terms of reactants, cellular respiration uses glucose and oxygen, while photosynthesis uses carbon dioxide and water. In terms of their products, cellular respiration produces carbon dioxide and water, while in photosynthesis are glucose and oxygen. In terms of organisms, cellular respiration occurs in plants and animals, while photosynthesis occurs in all green plants. In terms of the role of glucose, in cellular respiration, glucose is broken down, while in photosynthesis, glucose is produced. In terms of time, cellular respiration occurs in all times, while photosynthesis happens only in the presence of light. And in terms of sight, cellular respiration takes place at the mitochondria, while the photosynthesis takes place in the chloroplasts.
The two biological reactions that complement each other in the environment are photosynthesis and respiration, that occur in reverse manner. In the process of respiration, oxygen and glucose yield water and carbon dioxide, while carbon dioxide and water yields glucose and oxygen in photosynthesis. Both photosynthesis and respiration can function enough as living organisms provide carbon dioxide for plants that undergo photosynthesis and produces glucose. Bacteria and plants release oxygen that is required for all living organisms for respiration.
The standard equation for cellular respiration and photosynthesis are almost opposite processes, meaning the interchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide by cellular respiration and photosynthesis helps in maintaining both atmospheric oxygen and carbon dioxide and differ in the form of energy that is being absorbed or released.
Notice that the products of cellular respiration became the reactants of photosynthesis. They really complement each other. This is exactly what is happening in our ecosystem. Plants absorb carbon dioxide released by animals. It also absorbs water from the environment through the help of the sunlight upon absorption. They form glucose and oxygen that animals need for them to produce carbon dioxide and water that plants need. It is just a cycle. Wow, such a complex process. That is why all of us are interconnected. We need one another to survive.
For our learning task number 1, you will observe the diagram showing the exchange of materials during photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Then, you will answer the guide questions.
Here are the questions. Number 1. In which part of the cell does photosynthesis happen? Number 2. In which part of the cell does respiration happen? Question number 3. What energy is needed by the photosynthetic organisms during the process of photosynthesis? Number 4. What energy is needed by organisms during cell respiration? And number 5. What are the materials needed during photosynthesis? Let us answer question number 1. In which part of the cell does photosynthesis happen? The answer is chloroplast. Let us answer question number 2. In which part of the cell does respiration happen? The answer is mitochondria. Let us answer question number 3. What energy is needed by photosynthetic organisms during the process of photosynthesis? The answer is light energy. Let us answer question number 4. What energy is needed by organisms during cell respiration? The answer is chemical energy. Let us answer question number 5. What are the materials needed during photosynthesis? The answer is carbon dioxide and water. Get ready for the learning task number 2. Photosynthesis is the process used by plants and some bacteria to create energy from sunlight. Chlorophyll is the green pigment in plants that is responsible for this conversion process. During photosynthesis, phototrophs use energy from the sun along with carbon dioxide and water to form glucose and oxygen. Can you illustrate the equation for photosynthesis? Go ahead! You will also label it properly. Light-dependent thylakoid uses light energy, ATP and NADPH. And the light-independent or dark reaction, stroma, fixation, reduction, no sunlight needed. Concepts include photosynthesis and respiration. Good job! Now, we will proceed to learning task number 3. Respiration process and equation. Respiration is the process of taking oxygen from the air and cycling it through the lungs, which then gives oxygen to blood to be used in the body. The carbon dioxide waste is expelled out of the lungs. Cellular respiration uses glucose or sugars from the food molecules and turn them into carbon dioxide, water, and ATP, a nucleotide essential to the body. Cellular respiration can occur both aerobically, using oxygen, or anaerobically, without oxygen. During aerobic cellular respiration, glucose reacts with oxygen, forming ATP that can be used by the cell. Carbon dioxide and water are created as byproduct. Your task is to illustrate the equation of cellular respiration and label it properly.
Okay, let's answer. The equation for cellular respiration is glucose plus 6 atoms of oxygen will yield 6 atoms of carbon dioxide plus 6 atoms of water plus ATP.
Nice try, learners! You always have the time to practice. Now, in the next activity, you will identify the term by reading the description.
Question number 1. The process happening inside the cell of organisms is... The answer is cellular respiration. Number 2. The primary energy carrier in living things is... The answer is adenosine triphosphate or ATP. Number 3. Cellular respiration occurs in the... The answer is mitochondria. Number 4. The jelly-like substance that fills the space between is... The answer is the cytoplasm. Number 5. The process that requires oxygen is... The answer is aerobic. Number 6. The process that does not require oxygen is... The answer is anaerobic. And number 7. An anaerobic pathway for breaking down glucose is... The answer is fermentation.
Marvelous! Nice try, grade 9! And for the last activity, you will complete the table of comparison between photosynthesis and cellular respiration.
And here are the answers. Number 1. It happens in all organisms, specifically in aerobic. Number 2. The process occurs in the chloroplast. Number 3. The reactants are glucose and oxygen. Number 4. The products are glucose and oxygen. And number 5. It undergoes catabolic process.
Learners, I hope you learned something from today's episode about photosynthesis and cellular respiration. This is Teacher Kevin A. Domingo, your kind of K, and this is DepEd TV!
be no face-to-face classes.
We will be using our own teachers as broadcasters in this TV program.
Huwag kang mag-alala. Good morning, everyone. Are you ready?
De Luna,
Present!
Herrera,
Present!
Valera,
Present!
Handa ba tayo sa school year 2020?
Present!
Ngayong taon, ang edukasyon tuloy pa rin. Sa tulong ng DepEd, mga guro at mga magulang, ang handang isip, handa bukas. Tuloy-tuloy ang pag-aaral. May mga modules para sa iba't ibang antas. Sa government TV, maging sa radyo. Mahalagang ligtas ang ating mga estudyante at guro. Kaya kahit nasa bahay, tuloy ang edukasyon. Kung tulong-tulong, may paraan, may aralan.
Handang isip, handa bukas.
Bisitahin ang DepEd Philippines sa Facebook at ang deped.gov.ph.
O James, ano namang nag-udyok sa'yo para umamin kay Ma'am Reyes? Lagi na kasi kung inuusig ng konsensya ko. Paano mo nasabing inuusig ka ng konsensya mo? Lagi akong balisa. Hindi rin ako makatulog. Hindi rin ako masaya na ako yung top 1 sa klase natin. Ibig mo bang sabihin ay hindi ka matahimik? Inuusig ako ng konsensya ko tungkol sa pangungodigo ko nung nakaraang exam natin. Bakit mo ba nagawa yan? Dahil naiinggit ako kay Primo. Siya lagi yung top 1 eh. Siya lagi yung napupuri. Pero pinagsisisihan ko talaga yung nagawa ko. Magandang araw mga mag-aaral. Ako si Teacher Janjan, ang inyong guro sa edukasyon sa pagpapakatao. Samahan niyo ako sa isa na namang masayang pag-aaral tungo sa matalinong pag-iisip, mabuting puso, at makataong pagkilos. Handa ka na bang matuto sa araw na ito? Mabuti kung ganun. Ihanda mo na ang iyong ballpen, papel o kwaderno at self-learning module at sabay-sabay tayong makinig, sumagot at matuto ng bagong kaalaman dito lang sa Edukasyon sa Pagpapakatao, ika-10 baitang. Napanood mo ba ang pag-uusap ni Mitch at James kanina? Sa palagay mo, ano kaya ang pag-uusapan natin ngayong araw? Magaling! Ang aralin natin ngayong araw ay tungkol sa konsensya. Ano nga ba ang konsensya? Ang konsensya ang munting tinig sa loob ng tao na nagbibigay sa kanya ng payo at nag-uutos kung paano kumilos sa isang sitwasyon. Bilang tao, madalas mong naririnig ang iyong konsensya sa tuwing ikaw ay gagawa ng desisyon. Mag-online games ka ba? O maglilinis ng bahay? Magpupuyat ka ba kakachat sa iyong barkada? O maaga kang matutulog? Bibilin mo ba ang iyong paboritong damit? O iipunin mo muna ang iyong pera? Sa panahong iyan, gumagana ang iyong konsensya. Suriin natin ang sitwasyon mula sa aklat ni Felicidad Lipio. Gagarahin na sana ang driver ng taxi na si Mang Tino nang matuklasan niyang may nakaiwan ng pitaka sa likod ng upuan ng sasakyan niya. Nang buksan niya ito, ay natuklasan niyang marami itong laman. Malaking halagang maaari niyang gawing puhunan sa negosyo. May nakabukod ding mga papel na dolyar sa kabilang bulsa ng pitaka. Walang nakakita sa kanya kaya minabuti niyang itabi ang pera. Malaki ang maitutulong nito sa pamilya ko, sabi niya sa sarili. Noong dumating ang gabi, ay hindi siya mapakali. Sa kalooban niya, nararamdaman niya na para siyang nalilito. Bago dumating ang umaga, nagbago ng isip niya. Hahanapin kong may-ari ng pitaka at isasauli ko ito, nasabi niya sa sarili. Kung ikaw ang nasa kalagayan ni Mang Tino, isasauli mo rin ba ang pera kahit alam mong meron kang malaking pangangailangan? Sa ganitong pagkakataon, kailangan mong pakinggan ang sinasabi ng iyong konsensya bago ka gumawa ng pasya. Ayon kay Lipio, binagabag si Mang Tino ng kanyang konsensya. Ang konsensya ang nagsilbing liwanag sa kanyang isip at ito ang nag-utos sa kanya na isauli ang pera sa may-ari. Malinaw mula sa sitwasyon ang sinasabi ng ating konsensya. Gawin mo ang mabuti, iwasan mo ang masama. Janjararan! Tandaan, huwag isawalang bahala ang sinasabi sa iyo ng iyong konsensya bago ka gumawa ng desisyon. Mas mabuting pakinggan mo ang sinasabi nito sa iyo dahil ito ang iyong gabay tungo sa tama at mabuting kilos. Sa araw-araw nating pamumuhay, hindi natin maiiwasan na tayo ay maharap sa isang krisis. Ang krisis ay isang kritikal na sandali ng ating buhay. Ito ay mga problema na kung saan naiipit ka sa higit sa isang pagpipilian at kinakailangan mo ng tulong ng iyong konsensya sa pagpapasya. Paano nga ba kumikilos ang ating konsensya sa tuwing tayo ay nahaharap sa isang krisis? Alamin natin sa tulong ng flowchart na ito. Ang pagkilos ng ating konsensya ay nagsisimula sa unang yugto. Alamin at naisin ang mabuti. Kailangang nakatatak na sa iyong isip na ang desisyon iyong nanaising gawin ay ang tama at mabuti. Halimbawa, bilang isang kabataan, kailangang itatak natin sa ating isip na mabuti ang pagtulog ng maaga kaysa sa labis na pagpupuyat dahil sa pakikipag-chat sa barkada. Alamin at naisin mong gawin kung ano ang mabuti. Matapos nito, pumunta naman tayo sa ikalawang yugto, ang pagkilatis sa partikular na kabutihan sa isang sitwasyon. Gamit ang iyong kaalaman sa prinsipyo ng moralidad, kilatising mabuti kung ano sa palagay mo ang nakabubuting gawin sa gitna ng sitwasyon. May mabuti bang maidudulot sa iyong kalusugan ang labis na pagpupuyat dahil sa pakikipag-chat sa iyong barkada? Tama bang lagi ka na lamang pinagagalitan ng iyong magulang dahil tanghali ka na kung magising dahil sa pagpupuyat? Kilatisin mong mabuti. Pagkatapos nito, tutungo ka na sa ikatlong yugto, ang paghatol para sa mabuting pasya at kilos. Dito, kailangan mong pakinggan ang iyong konsensya. Anong nararapat mong gawin? Ano naman ang hindi mo dapat gawin? Sa sandaling ito, mahuhusgahan mo na kung ang gagawin mong kilos ay mabuti o masama. Naku, masama sa katawan ang magpuyat, kaya matutulog na lang ako ng maaga. Yan ang halimbawa ng paghatol. At pinakahuling yugto, ang pagsusuri ng sarili o pagninilay. Sa puntong ito, binabalikan natin ang ginawang paghatol. Pinagninilayan natin ang ating paghatol upang matuto sa ating karanasan. Dahil sa iyong pagtulog ng maaga, mas naging produktibo ang iyong araw. Hindi ka na rin pinagagalitan ng iyong mga magulang at mas naging masigla pa ang iyong katawan. Sa puntong ito, masasabi mo na tama ang ginawa mong paghatol. Ganyan natin ginagamit ang konsensya sa tuwing tayo ay nagdedesisyon. Ang galing, di ba? Alam mo ba na ang pinakamataas na batayan ng kilos ng tao ay ang likas na batas moral? At ano naman ang koneksyon nito sa ating konsensya? Ang likas na batas moral ay ang ating gabay sa pagkilala ng mabuti at masama. Ito ay nakalapat sa ating konsensya at ginagamit na personal na gabay ng tao sa pagpapasya kung ano ang tama at mali sa isang sitwasyon. Bakit alam mong masama ang kumuha ng bagay na hindi naman sa'yo? Bakit alam mo rin na hindi tama ang sumagot ng pabalang sa iyong magulang? At bakit alam mo rin na mali ang kumitil ng isang buhay? Dahil yan sa gabay ng iyong likas na batas moral na nakalapat na sa iyong konsensya. Ano-ano ang mga prinsipyo ng likas na batas moral? Ang unang prinsipyo, gawin ang mabuti, iwasan ang masama. Ito ang prinsipyong isinaisip ni Samuel, kaya't itinigil na niya ang kanyang pandaraya sa timbangan sa palengke. Ikalawa, kasama ng lahat ng may buhay, may kahilingan ng taong pangalagaan ng kanyang buhay. Ito ang isinaisip ni Mang Ben nang magdesisyon siyang magpahinga sa bahay kaysa uminom at manigarilyo sa oras na walang trabaho. Ikatlo, kasama ng mga hayop, likas sa tao ang pagpaparami ng uri at pag-aralin ang mga anak. Ito naman ang prinsipyong isinaisip ni Aling Belen nung siya ay naghanap ng iba pang pagkakakitaan upang makapagpatuloy sa pag-aaral ang kanyang mga anak sa kabila ng kahirapan. At ang panghuli, bilang rasyonal na nilalang, may likas na kahilingan ng tao na alamin ang katotohanan at mabuhay sa lipunan. Ito naman ang pagsasabi mo ng totoo sa iyong magulang dahil alam mong masama ang magsinungaling. Janjararan! Tandaan, huwag kang magpadalos-dalos sa paggawa ng desisyon. Lagi mong isaisip na sa tuwing ikaw ay haharap sa isang krisis o problema, nariyan ng iyong konsensya upang gabayan ka. Kailangan mo lang pakinggan ito ng mabuti. O hindi ba? Napakarami nating natutunan sa araw na ito tungkol sa konsensya at likas na batas moral. Balikan natin ang mga sumusunod. Nalaman natin na ang konsensya ang munting tinig sa loob ng tao na nagbibigay ng payo at nag-uutos sa atin kung paano tayo kikilos sa isang sitwasyon. Napag-aralan din natin kung paano kumikilos ang ating konsensya sa tuwing haharap tayo sa krisis o problema. Ito ay sa pamamagitan ng 4 na yugto. Una, ang alamin at naisin ang mabuti. Ikalawa, ang pagkilatis sa partikular na kabutihan sa isang sitwasyon. Ikatlo, ang paghatol para sa mabuting pasya at kilos. At ika-4, ang pagsusuri ng sarili o pagninilay. At ang panghuli sa ating mga natutunan, ang mga prinsipyo ng likas na batas moral. Una, gawin ang mabuti, iwasan ang masama. Ikalawa, kasama ng lahat ng may buhay, may kahilingan ng taong pangalagaan ang kanyang sariling buhay. Ikatlo, kasama ng mga hayop, likas sa tao ang pagpaparami ng uri at pag-aralin ang mga anak. At ika-4, bilang rasyonal na nilalang, May likas na kahilingan ng tao na alamin ang katotohanan at mabuhay sa lipunan. Janjararan! Tandaan, bilang tao, ang konsensya ay tila isang kompas ng ating buhay. Ito ang tutulong sa atin upang hindi tayo mapunta sa maling direksyon sa tuwing tayo ay gagawa ng desisyon. Tungkulin mo na gamitin ito nang sa gayon, mas maging payapa ang iyong buhay. Buhay na malaya sa takot at pangamba na baka isang araw ay pagsisihan mo ang pasyang hindi mo gaanong sinuri at pinag-isipan. Ngayon, batay sa iyong narinig na realisasyon sa ating aralin, nais kong suriin mo ang iyong pasyang ginawa batay sa paghuhusga ng iyong konsensya. Narito ang panuto. Gumuhit ng isang talahanayan na may 3 kolum. Sa unang kolum, magsulat ng 2 mahalagang pasya o kilos na iyong isinagawa sa loob ng linggong ito. Sa pangalawang kolum naman, tukuyin kung masama o mabuti ang iyong isinulat na mga pasya o kilos. At para naman sa huling kolum, ilahad ang mga angkop na hakbang na iyong gagawin upang mabago at maitama ang iyong mga naging masamang pasya o kilos. Bibigyan lamang kita ng 1 minuto at 30 segundo para tapusin ang gawain ito. Handa ka na ba? Ang iyong oras ay magsisimula na ngayon. Tapos na ang oras. Natapos mo ba ang gawain? Mahusay. Sana ay iyong isabuhay ang mga isinulat mong hakbang upang maitama ang iyong mga naging maling pasya at kilos sa nakaraan. Ang iyong guro na lamang sa ESP ang magwawasto ng iyong ginawa. Basta't lagi lamang nating tatandaan na sa iyong paggawa ng desisyon, ugaliing kumonsulta sa iyong konsensya. Sigurado kong marami kang natutunan sa ating aralin ngayon. Pwede mo itong ibahagi sa ibang tao nang sa gayon, mas marami pa rin ang magkaroon ng matalinong pag-iisip, mabuting puso, at makataong pagkilos. Muli, ako si Teacher Janjan, isang magandang araw sa ating lahat at magkita-kita tayo muli dito lamang kung saan masayang mag-aral ng ESP ang DepEd TV. Paalam!
There will be no face-to-face classes.
We will be using our own teachers as broadcasters in this TV program.
Huwag kang mag-alala. Good morning, everyone. Are you ready?
To start today's episode, these are the 5 wonder tips for you to remember to keep your back, neck, and eyes healthy while indulging in some screen time. This is Teacher Melvin's healthy tips for everyone. Number 1. Sit properly so you are well supported. Your back should be touching the chair backrest. Number 2. Change your position regularly. If you are watching for long periods, take turns sitting on the couch, chair, or floor. Number 3. Keep dim lighting on in the room rather than no lighting. Strong or no lighting may lead to eye damage over time. Number 4. Stretch. Use commercial breaks to change positions, to get up and walk around, and to do gentle stretches. Number 5. Don't watch TV in bed, as this often leads to neck and backache. There, you are now ready to begin. Hello, Wonder Warriors! It's me, Teacher Melvin, your companion to your Wonder Science Adventures. Learn everything under the sun because here at DepEd TV, Grade 10 Science is fun. So buckle up and get ready to power your mind. This is Wonder Science! For today's episode, you will learn about mantle convection and forces as a mechanism to the motion of the massive plates of the lithosphere and the development of the theory of plate tectonic. To start, let's have a short game. This game will help you recall important terms that you learned in our previous explorations. Kindly prepare your pencil and paper. Here's the catch of the game. I will show you 5 words with scrambled letters. I will read the definition once. You are given 5 seconds to arrange the scrambled letters to come up with the correct word being described by the statement. You will be given a gold Wonder coin for every correct answer. If you collect all 5, a Wonder badge will be given to you. Are you ready? Wonder Warriors, let's begin! Number 1. A layer beneath where the less dense hot molten material rises and sinks. What is the mystery word? The mystery word is mantle. Number 2. A soft, weak, and plastic-like layer, the upper part of the mantle where the lithospheric plates float and move. What is the mystery word? The mystery word is a stenosphere? Number 3. Hot molten rocks formed beneath the Earth's surface. What is the mystery word? The mystery word is magma. Number 4. Facilitates the movement of the lithospheric plates. What is the mystery word? The mystery word is convection current. Number 5. The innermost layer of the Earth which generates heat to the mantle. What is the mystery word? The mystery word is core. How many Wonder Coins have you collected? If you got 5, here's your Wonder Badge. Well done, Wonder Warriors. Keep up the good work. And now, kindly prepare your pencil, paper, and your self-learning module. We will now begin our exploration on the Earth's mechanism. Can you recall the plate tectonic theory? Developed in 1960s, plate tectonics is the modern version of continental drift, a theory first proposed by scientist Alfred Wegener in 1912. The plate tectonic theory states that the Earth's lithosphere, the crust, and the upper mantle is broken up into several pieces called plates that move slowly. It explains how the massive plates move along the different types of plate tectonic boundaries: convergent, divergent, and transform fault boundary, where they interact, and the geologic events such as earthquakes and subduction, and geologic features such as formation of mountains, volcanoes, and trenches that occur at their boundaries. What makes lithospheric plates move? To help you answer this question, take a look at this figure. A convection current is a heat transfer process that involves the movement of energy from one place to another. The convection currents tend to move a fluid, gas particles, or molten rock. These are caused by the differences in the densities and the temperature of a specific gas or a fluid. Due to this temperature difference, the hot fluid tends to rise as it expands, whereas cold fluid tends to sink because it contracts. Convection is one of the kinds of heat transfer. The other two are radiation and conduction. Did you know that convection current also happens in the mantle? Wonder Warriors, let's zoom in. As we all know, the mantle is the second inner layer of Earth, made up of mostly hot rocks and magma. It is a very hot layer because of the heat generated by the core. The source of heat from the core is due to the decay or breakdown of radioactive elements. Mantle convection is a process by which thermal convection occurs in the inner layer of the Earth. The differences in the temperature of the Earth's interior and surface cause convection currents to occur within the mantle. Take note, lithospheric plates are the parts of the uppermost layer of the Earth, and they are flowing in the area called the asthenosphere. As you previously learned, the asthenosphere is a soft, less rigid upper part of the mantle where the lithospheric plates float and move around. Remember, plates move slowly and continuously when the hot, less dense material rises. The rising hot material cools down in a certain area, hence it becomes denser. Dense material sinks that creates convection cells with hot rising currents, and cool sinking currents are regularly repeated and become a cycle, to which we can attribute the movement of the lithospheric plate. The movement of the lithospheric plate is attributed to the mantle convection and considered as one of the driving mechanisms for plate motion. The lithosphere at the divergent boundary will uplift and tear apart due to the rising of hot magma. The sinking of magma pulls down the tectonic plate at the convergent boundary. Aside from mantle convection, What are other forces that move the lithospheric plates? The other forces that move the lithospheric plates include ridge push, sliding, and slab pull. Let's get to know them one by one. In the process of slab pull, the presence of a heavier subducting plate pulls down the trailing slab into the subduction zone. In the ridge push or gravitational sliding process, the old oceanic crust becomes heavier than the oceanic crust and sinks because of the weight of the raised ridge, which pushes down the older oceanic crust towards the trench at the subduction zone. Wonder Warriors, how are you so far? Don't forget to take note of the important details on a piece of paper. Remember, by taking notes, you can easily recall our discussion. You have just learned about what is happening during convection. To further understand this process, let's have this enrichment activity. It is important to understand convection's definition before considering examples, so you're clear on what convection really is. Convection is a transfer of heat related to the movement that occurs within the fluid due to the rising of hotter materials paired with the sinking of colder materials. This occurs because hotter materials have less density than colder ones. Here are some examples of convection in everyday life, including several common household occurrences. Number 1. Boiling water.
When water boils, the heat passes from the burner in the pot, heating the water at the bottom.
This hot water rises and colder water moves down to replace it, causing a circular motion.
Number 2. A steaming cup of hot tea.
The steam you see when drinking a cup of hot tea indicates that heat is being transferred into the air.
And number 3. Ice melting.
Ice melts because heat moves to the ice from the air. As a result, the ice melts from a solid to liquid.
Can you cite other examples of convection in everyday life, including several common household occurrences? Take a photo of those examples and post it in Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter with the hashtag #WonderConvectionAtHome. Remember, plates move by bumping in the opposite direction and sliding past each other, resulting in making areas of volcanic activities, earthquake, and mountain formation. Take note, the motion is driven by a convection current mechanism within the Earth. I have here 5 statements. These are the events that take place in the mantle convection process. Lithospheric plates move in the asthenosphere due to the rising and sinking of materials. The decomposition of radioactive elements causes heat in the interior part of the Earth. Heat slowly rises to the mantle and creates convection current. Heat moves to the core, and the last statement, the process repeats as a cycle. Can you arrange the following events in the mantle convection process? I will give you 2 minutes to arrange these events in the mantle convection process. Use numbers 1 to 5. Are you ready? Time Let's arrange these events in correct order. Mantle convection process starts with, first, the decomposition of radioactive elements causes heat in the interior part of the Earth. Second, heat moves to the core. Third, heat slowly rises to the mantle and creates convection current. Fourth, the lithospheric plates move in the asthenosphere due to the rising and sinking of materials. And finally, the fifth statement, the process repeats as a cycle. Good job, Wonder Warriors! I'm impressed of your quick thinking. So there, you have just learned about the mantle convection and forces as a mechanism to the motion of the massive plates of the lithosphere. And now, challenge yourself to do this 5-item quiz. I will read the question and choices once. You're only given 5 seconds to write the letter of the correct answer for each question. You will be given 1 gold coin for every correct answer. Are you ready? Wonder Warriors, let's play Science Pop Quiz. Question number 1. Which of the following does not describe a convection process? A. The handle of a metal pot is hot while cooking. B. Boiling of macaroni pasta. C. A sea breeze. D. Ocean water in the surface is warmer. The correct answer is letter A. The handle of a metal pot is hot while cooking. Question number 2. What is the source of heat generated by the core to the mantle? A. Gases. B. Decayed radioactive elements. C. Molten rocks. Or D. Molten metals. The correct answer is letter B. Decayed radioactive elements. Question number 3. Which of the following has a faster movement of molecules? A. Hot materials. B. Warm materials. C. Cold materials. Or D. Room temperature materials. The correct answer is letter A. Hot materials. Question number 4. Which of the following has a lesser density in a convection cell? A. Warm fluid materials. B. Cold fluid materials. C. Room temperature fluid materials. Or D. Hot fluid materials. The correct answer is letter D. Hot fluid materials. Question number 5. In a convection current, hot materials move blank. A. Any direction. B. Sideward. C. Upward. Or D. Downward. The correct answer is letter C. Upward. Well done, Wonder Warriors! I'm happy that you were able to challenge yourself to do the pop quiz. Now, let us add all the gold coins you've collected from the pop quiz. How many gold coins have you collected? For all the effort that you do, I will give you a fantastic badge. Wonder Warriors, have you tried eating palitaw? Palitaw is a kind of sweet, chewy, and flattened rice cake. This Filipino rice cake is prepared by soaking glutinous rice grains in water overnight and then processed as a dough. The dough is flattened into small pieces and cooked in boiling water until they float. This is the reason it was called palitaw. Based on your knowledge about convection current, make a sketch that can explain why palitaw floats in boiling water. In a separate piece of paper, sketch the convection current occurring in making the said rice cake. Perform this activity with either family members or friends who are available to join you. Share your cooking experience to the online world by posting your photo using #WonderLearnAtHome. You did well today, Wonder Warriors. I am excited to see your outputs. And that ends our Wonder Adventure for today. But don't worry, more science adventures are coming your way.
Always remember, science is fun for everyone. This has been your Wanderer Explorer, Teacher Melvin. See you next time for another episode of Fun Wanderer Adventures. Only here at DepEd TV.
Sa mga panahong ito, ngayon malapit ng July, dapat ang mga bata nasa classroom na nag-aaral, masaya, inihahatid ng mga magulang, but all these things at this point in time, wala.
Na kung saan sumalakay sa atin ang COVID-19 disease.
Paano enrollment? Paano pag-aaral? Sinong tutulong sa amin? These are worries very normal to parents like us. Paano ng mga batang to?
Gusto po namin i-remind ang mga ating mahal na magulang na sila po ay magtiwala sa Department of Education.
At wag po tayong magpatalo na because of this pandemic, ihinto po ang pag-aaral ng ating mga anak.
Ginagawa po namin yung lahat ng aming makakaya para na sa ganon ay tuloy-tuloy po ang enrollment po ng mga estudyante po. Gumagamit po kami ng mga Learner Enrollment and Survey Form o yung tinatawag natin LESF para na sa ganon makapag-fill up na po yung mga magulang na wala pong access pagdating po sa internet.
Para doon sa coordination namin sa mga stakeholders, particularly doon po sa pagbibigay ng mga Learners Enrollment and Survey Form, pumupunta po kami by barangay.
Yung boxes na dinala sa mga barangay hall, na yung mga hindi nakapag-enroll ngayon ng online, doon ngayon i-drop yung mga enrollment form ng mga bata. At ang gagawin ng barangay, dadalhin ngayon sa school. At yung mga schools ang magko-collect.
Masasabi namin na kami ay may kahandaan sa mga iba-ibang modality na gagamitin natin dahil hindi nga pwede ang face-to-face instruction.
Doon sa online ay nahihirapan po sila. So meron naman tayong tinatawag na modular.
Kami po sa DepEd ay hindi tumitigil kung paano namin may pagpatuloy ang edukasyon ng inyong mga anak. Kaya po, magtiwala lamang po tayo sa DepEd.
Thank you sa DepEd kasi kahit nasa pandemic tayo.
Marami naman po paraan na makapagpatuloy ang ating pag-aaral sa ating mga kabataan.
Ang ating kalusugan, ang ating safety, ang binabalanse natin.
Kami ay nananawagan. Alam namin na ang prosesong ito walang sapilitan. Ang prosesong ito ng enrollment ay ang final decision ay nasa parents nasa guardians at saka sa mga bata mismo. By the way, marami din kaming requests ng mga bata mismo na nagpapadala ng mensahe sa Secretary of Education na nagsasabing gusto ko nang mag-aral, gusto ko nang bumalik sa school, gusto ko nang ipagpatuloy ang aking learnings. Mga bata mismo ang nagsasabi. Sa mga lugar na kung halimbawa sobrang dami na sila at saka umaapaw na sa mga quota ang mga batang i-enroll, maraming parents na nakikiusap, pwede bang i-accommodate yung aming anak? Pwede bang i-accommodate yung aming apo? Kaya kami ay nakikinig sa mga pananawagan ito ng mga parents. At kami din sa DepEd, nanawagan din sa mga parents. Kayo ang magdedesisyon, sa inyo ang desisyon, nasa inyong kamay ang kinabukasan ng inyong learners. Maraming salamat.
Isang mapanuring araw mga mag-aaral ng grade 10, maligayang pagdating sa Araling Panlipunan para sa makabagong silid-aralan. Ako si Ma'am Che, ang teacher analyst na inyong magiging gabay sa pag-unawa ng mga issue at pangyayari sa lipunang ating ginagalawan. Dito sa Araling Panlipunan 10, kayo ay magiging mulat, mapanuri at may paninindigang kabataang Filipino. Kaya naman ihanda na ninyo ang inyong mga self-learning modules, papel at ballpen at sisimulan na natin ang ating makabuluhang talakayan. Ang mga suliraning pangkapaligiran na ating nararanasan ay nagdudulot ng mga panganib at kalamidad. Ito ay kalimitang nagiging dahilan ng pagkasira ng mga ari-arian at pagkawala ng buhay ng maraming tao sa ating bansa. Sa ating nakaraang episode, tinalakay natin ang mga gampanin ng ilang ahensya ng pamahalaan upang maging ligtas ang ating pamayanan. Ating napagtanto na hindi lamang sila ang may gampanin para dito. Napakahalaga na malaman natin kung paano tayo tutugon bago, habang at pagkatapos ng isang panganib o kalamidad. Sabi nga sa ating K2, sa harap ng panganib at kalamidad, tamang paghahanda at pagtugon ay kailangan. Kabataang tulad mo, may magagawa upang magkaroon ng ligtas na pamayanan. Bago tayo dumako sa ating bagong aralin, suriin ang bawat pahayag. Isulat sa inyong sagutang papel ang handa kung ito ay nagpapakita ng kahandaan sa panahon ng panganib at kalamidad at dead ba naman kung hindi. Bibigyan ko kayo ng 3 segundo para ito ay sagutin. Una, pakikinig sa radyo o panonood sa TV para sa emergency instructions. Ang sagot ay handa. Maging mapanuri upang hindi mabiktima ng mga fake news. Pangalawa, iwasang mag-imbak ng maraming pagkain sa bahay, lalong-lalo na ng mga delata. Ang sagot ay DEDMA. Ang mga ito ay bahagi ng emergency kit na kailangan nating ihanda. Siguraduhin na ito ay ilalagay sa lugar na hindi mababasa. Ikatlo, isantabi ang mga ginagawang pagsasanay sa kalamidad upang mabigyang pansin ang pagpapaunlad sa sarili. Ang sagot ay DEDMA. Kinakailangang laging alerto at laging isaisip ang mga panuto na ibinibigay kapag may mga pagsasanay o drill. Ang pagtugon ng tama ay isa ring paraan ng pagpapaunlad sa sarili. Ika-4, pagbabahagi ng mga eksaheradong mga balita o impormasyon. Ang sagot ay DEDMA. Sa anumang panahon, no to exaggerated and fake news. Iwasang magdulot ng takot at pagkalito sa inyong pamayanan. Ika-5, makilahok sa mga earthquake drill. Ang sagot ay handa. Ang drill na isinasagawa sa ating mga paaralan ay dapat nilalahukan at siniseryoso ninyo sapagkat ito ay paghahanda sa inyo sa mga panganib at kalamidad. Kamusta ang inyong mga score? Handa ba kayo o DEDMA? Inaasahan ko na sa ating mga talakayan ay patuloy na nalilinang sa inyo ang K2, ang kaalaman at kakayahan sa pagharap ng anumang hamong pangkapaligiran. Suriin at pag-aralan ang mga larawan. Bibigyan ko kayo ng 1 minuto upang sagutin ang mga sumusunod na tanong. Una, ano ang nakikita mo sa larawan? Ikalawa, ano ang ipinahihiwatig nito? Ikatlo, bakit ito mahalaga? Makikita natin sa larawan ang isang lalaki na may maayos na tindig na umaakmang lumalaban sa paparating na iba't ibang uri ng panganib at kalamidad. Dahilan sa panangga at slogan na makikita natin na pumapagitna sa lalaki na mistulang kumakatawan sa mga Filipino at sa iba't ibang uri ng panganib at sakuna, ipinapahiwatig nito ang kahalagahan ng paghahanda para sa tunay na pagbabago. Ito ay mahalaga sapagkat sa bansang katulad natin na madaling daanan ng mga bagyo at laging nakararanas ng lindol, alam natin dapat kung paano tumugon at lumaban para magkaroon ng isang ligtas na pamayanan. Ang episode natin ngayon ay nakatuon sa MELC 4. Nasusuri ang kahalagahan ng kahandaan, disiplina at kooperasyon sa pagtugon sa mga hamong pangkapaligiran. Ngayong araw na ito ay susuriin natin ang ilang mga pangyayari sa ating bansa at tutukuyin natin kung makikitaan ba natin ito o hindi ng kahandaan, disiplina at kooperasyon sa mga naging pagtugon. Buksan ang inyong self-learning module sa Paksa 1. Mga issue sa hamong pangkapaligiran. 2 pangyayari ang ating babalikan at susuriin. I will share the news. You will react, follow or unfollow, and tweet your realizations. Ang gagawin natin, balik tanaw tungo sa mas magandang pananaw. Unang balita, tumitinding problema sa baha. Paralisado ang maraming lugar sa Metro Manila at karatig lalawigan dahil sa mga nararanasang matinding pagbaha dala ng habagat na pinatindi ng bagyong si Henry kahapon. Talagang malaki ang problema ng bansa ngayon sa mga matinding pagbaha. Kung dati, ang mababang lugar lang ang madalas bahain tuwing malakas ang pag-ulan o kaya ay high tide, pero ngayon, kahit yung ilang mataas na lugar, minsan ay nilulubog na rin ng baha. Kahit nga hindi naman kalakasan ang ulan at sandali lang, madalas ay meron agad baha. Ilan sa nakikitang dahilan dito ay ang hindi maayos na mga drainage system, na lagi namang nakikitang proyekto ng gobyerno sa maraming lugar. Kabi-kabila ang mga paghuhukay at pagsasaayos ng mga drainage, pero mukhang walang silbi ang mga ito. May ilan kasi na bara-bara ang gawa at hindi natututukan o nababantayan. Marami sa mga proyekto ang ganyan mapanasyonal o lokal. Sa ilang proyekto, ang kinukuhang mga contractor sa mga proyekto, basta na bayaran ay hindi na napupulido ang gawa o ang mga gamit hindi na inaayon sa mga napagkasunduan, pati kung paano ito isasagawa. Mayroon pa nga dyan, kunwari ay magbabaon ng malalaking concrete pipe, hindi naman alam kung saan padadaluyan ang tubig, mistulang nagbaon lang kunwari. Kapag umulan, bumabalik sa kalsada mula sa imburnal ang tubig. Walang silbi ang mga ginawa, sayang ang pera ng bayan. Isa pang dahilan sa matinding pagbahang nararanasan ay ang walang habas na pagtatapon ng basura sa kung saan-saan. Madalas, ito ang bumabara sa mga daluyan ng tubig. Hanggat hindi natututo ang marami, maya't mayang mararanasan ang baha. Baka ito ang palagi nating maranasan, ang malubog sa baha. Para sa ating pagsusuri, bibigyan kita ng 5 segundo para ibigay ang iyong mga reaksyon sa mga sumusunod na may kinalaman sa binalikan nating balita. Pumili kung like, care, sad, or angry. Una, tumitinding problema ng pagbaha sa Metro Manila. Ikalawa, drainage system sa maraming lugar sa bansa. Ikatlo, pagtatapon ng basura ng mga mamamayan. Ang matinding pagbaha ay isa sa mga malaking suliraning hinaharap ng ating bansa sa kasalukuyan. Ito ay nakalulungkot at nakababahala sapagkat mataas at mababang lugar ay lumulubog sa baha. Ilang mga nakikitang sanhi nito ay ang hindi maayos na drainage system sa maraming lugar sa Pilipinas, hindi maayos na pamamahala at pagsubaybay ng pamahalaan, at kawalan ng disiplina ng mga mamamayan sa pagtatapon ng basura. Kung ikaw ay bibigyan ng pagkakataong pumili, ano ang ikiklik mo? Follow or unfollow? Bibigyan kita ng 3 segundo. Una, pamahalaan. Ikalawa, barangay na kinabibilangan mo. Marahil ang ilan sa inyo pinili ang unfollow sapagkat hindi ninyo nakita ang kahandaan sa bahagi ng pamahalaan at mamamayan. Kung ako naman ang inyong tatanungin, ikiklik ko ang follow. Nais kong maging mulat sa mga proyekto ng ating pamahalaan nang sa gayon ay akin itong masuri at masubaybayan. Kung ito ay nagtutulak sa akin na tumugon dahil sa mga nakikita kong kahinaan, magiging aktibo ako upang makatulong sa paglutas ng suliraning ito. Tandaan, hindi sapat na tayo ay mulat at mapanuri. Tayo ay dapat maging mapagtugong mamamayan ng ating bansa. Ngayon naman ay bibigyan ko kayo ng pagkakataong mag-tweet. Kung may Twitter account, maaari na ninyong idiretso dito ang inyong sagot. Kung wala naman, ay maaari ninyong isulat sa inyong sagutang papel o i-post sa inyong class messenger. Bibigyan ko kayo ng 15 segundo upang ito ay gawin. Bilang isang mamamayan at residente, paano mo maipapakita na ikaw ay disiplinado at may kooperasyon sa inyong lugar sa pagtugon sa suliranin sa pagbaha? Pagdating sa suliranin sa baha, ikaw ba ay handa o dedma? Disiplinado o pasaway? May kooperasyon o walang pakialam? Ang mga mag-aaral ng grade 10 ay handa, disiplinado at may kooperasyon. Ikalawang balita, Bantay Bulkang Taal sa Reporter's Notebook. Nagulantang ang lahat sa pagsabog ng Bulkang Taal, isa sa 24 na active volcano sa Pilipinas. Bandang 7:30 ng gabi ng January 12, itinaas sa Alert Level 4 or Hazardous Eruption Imminent ang Taal Volcano. Naglabas ang bulkan ng tinatawag na steam-laden tephra column na may kasamang volcanic lightning. Kasunod nito ang ashfall sa mga probinsya ng Batangas, Laguna at Cavite. Umabot din ang ashfall sa Metro Manila at Central Luzon. Agad inilikas ang mga nakatira sa mga lugar malapit sa bulkan, kabilang na ang 9 na taong gulang na si Rona May Caro mula sa Talisay, Batangas. Kasama ang kanyang buong pamilya, dinala sila sa isang evacuation center sa Santo Tomas, Batangas. Ang ama ni Rona May, na si Mang Roberto na 10 taon ng tourist guide at boatman papunta sa Volcano Island, inaalala kung may babalikan pang hanap buhay. Sa datos ng National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council or NDRRMC, as of January 15, umabot na sa higit 50,000 tao ang naapektuhan ng pagsabog ng bulkan. Sa bilang na ito, higit 40,000 ang nasa evacuation centers. Sumama rin ang Reporter's Notebook sa pag-ikot ng mga rescuers sa mga lugar sa Batangas na pinaniniwalaang may mga nakatira pa. Sunod-sunod din ang mga volcanic earthquake sa mga lugar malapit sa bulkan. As of January 15, umabot na sa higit 400 ang naitalang lindol. Sa bayan ng Laurel, Batangas, makikita ang mahabang bitak ng lupa mula kalsada hanggang sa ilang bahay dulot ng pagyanig ng lupa. Ngayon ay tumako tayo sa pagsusuri. Katulad ng ginawa natin sa unang balita, bibigyan kita ng 5 segundo para ibigay ang iyong mga reaction sa mga sumusunod. Pumili kung like, care, sad, or angry. Una, agarang paglikas ng mga residenteng nakatira malapit sa bulkan. Ikalawa, pag-ikot ng mga rescuers sa mga lugar sa Batangas. Ikatlo, pagtugon ng mga mamamayan ng Batangas. Katulad ng tinalakay natin noong nakaraang episode, laging sumunod sa babala ng PHIVOLCS at iba pang ahensya ng pamahalaan. Kung pinalilikas, kinakailangang lumikas agad. Laging alalahanin ang kaligtasan ng bawat isa, kaya laging sundin ang lahat ng paalala at babala ng kinauukulan. Manatili rin sa evacuation center hanggang hindi nakasisiguro sa kaligtasan. Ngayon ay magpasya kung ang pipiliin ba ay follow or unfollow. Bibigyan kita ng 3 segundo. Una, National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council o NDRRMC. Ikalawa, lokal na pamahalaan ng Batangas. Pareho kaya tayong pumili ng follow? Mahalagang alam natin ang mga updates sa mga pangyayaring tulad nito. Sa ating tinalakay noong nakaraang episode, ang NDRRMC ay nabuo upang mabawasan at maagapan ang panganib na dulot ng kalamidad. Dapat din nating subaybayan ang mga pangyayari sa iba't ibang bahagi ng ating bansa sapagkat ito ay may malawakang epekto sa ating lipunan. Dapat ding malinang sa atin ang pagtutulungan sa panahon ng panganib at kalamidad. Handa na ba kayong mag-tweet? Sa punto na ito, maaari ba nating i-shoutout ang mga taga Batangas dahilan sa kanilang pagharap sa kalamidad na ito? Bibigyan ko kayo ng 15 segundo upang ito ay gawin. Paano ipinakita ng mga residente ang kanilang kahandaan, disiplina at kooperasyon sa pagsabog ng Bulkang Taal? Pagdating sa pagputok ng bulkan at lindol, ikaw ba ay handa o dedma? Disiplinado o pasaway? May kooperasyon o walang pakialam? Ngayon ay kunin ninyo ang inyong self-learning module at sagutin ang Gawain 7 Summary Chart. Ilahad kung paano mo maipapakita ang kahandaan, disiplina at kooperasyon sa pagtugon ng mga hamong pangkapaligiran. Bibigyan kita ng 1 minuto upang ito ay gawin. Upang masukat ang inyong pag-unawa sa ating aralin, sagutin natin ang bilang 1 hanggang 5 ng Gawain 10 sa inyong self-learning module. Una, ayon sa weather forecast ni Kuya Kim, may paparating na malakas na bagyo sa Luzon kasama ang inyong bayan sa matatamaan nito. Ano ang iyong gagawin kung naninirahan ka sa mababang lugar at peligroso sa baha? A. Lumikas sa mataas na lugar. B. Lumikas kapag mataas na ang tubig. C. Kapag tumaas ang tubig ay umakyat sa bubong ng bahay. D. Manatili sa bahay at ipako na lamang ang bubong at bintana. Ang sagot ay A. Ikalawa, bakit may nasasaktan at nawawalan ng buhay sa tuwing nagkakaroon ng kalamidad? 1. Pagtangging lumikas ng mga tao mula sa mga mapanganib na lugar. 2. Pakikinig sa radyo o panonood ng TV upang malaman ang pinakahuling balita. 3. Hindi pagsunod ng mga tao sa tagubilin ng mga otoridad kapag may kalamidad. A. 1, 2, 3. B. 1, 2. C. 1, 3. D. 2, 3. Ang sagot ay C. Ikatlo, bakit mahalagang makinig o alamin lagi ang mga pahayag, babala at alerto patungkol sa kalamidad? 1. Dahil ligtas ang may alam. 2. Upang malayo o makaiwas sa peligro. 3. Upang maging handa sa paparating na kalamidad. A. 1, 2, 3. B. 1, 2. C. 1, 3. D. 2, 3. Ang sagot ay A. Ika-4. Kung ikaw ay naabutan ng baha sa daan, ano ang maaari mong gamitin upang iligtas ang sarili sa pagbaha? A. Karton. B. Payong. C. Malaking bag. D. Malaking galon. Ang sagot ay D. Para sa inyong takdang aralin, magsaliksik ng tao o komunidad na nagpakita ng kahandaan, disiplina at kooperasyon sa panahon ng panganib at kalamidad. I-post ito sa inyong social media account o ibahagi sa inyong guro at mga kamag-aral. Gawin natin ito bilang pagkilala sa kanilang ginagawa at maging hamon sa bawat isa na maging aktibo tayo tungo sa isang ligtas na pamayanan. Para sa ating K2, kung nagnanais ng isang ligtas na pamayanan, kahandaan, disiplina at kooperasyon ang kailangan. Hanggang sa muli nating pagkikita mga grade 10, tandaan, mga mulat at mapanuring kabataan na sa kanilang tungkulin ay tumutugon, dulot ay transformasyon sa bawat individual at nasyon. Magkita-kita tayong muli para sa susunod nating episode. Dito sa DepEd TV, pakikinggan ang boses ng kabataang Pilipino sa pagtalakay ng iba't ibang kontemporaryong issue.
example of how our history and our culture evolves. I therefore call on all of us to support this worthwhile project. Thank you very much.
There will be no face-to-face classes.
We will be using our own teachers as broadcasters in this TV program.
Huwag kang mag-alala. Good morning, everyone. Are you ready?
Welcome back to another episode of Physical Education and Health Class. Today we are going to have another interesting lesson that you may use to improve your health and maximize the result of your fitness program. I am Teacher Mike and welcome to our subject, Health Optimizing Physical. In this episode, you are expected to explain the importance of muscle, bone, and aerobic exercise, to learn the techniques in getting your heart rate, identify exercises that are essential for boosting fitness, proficiently perform fitness activity, and show creativity and enjoyment while doing personalized fitness plan. Last week, we discussed the principles of physical activity and the FITT principles. Applying all of this will help you get more out of your fitness program. But do not stop there, as there are still more to learn. Do you want to become fit but don't know how to start? Well, do not worry, because today we are going to design a fitness program. To start designing your fitness program, you must first ask yourself, what do you want to achieve? To do that, you may arrange these following goals according to how important they are to you. Use numbers 1 to 11, 1 being the most important and 11 being the least important. Students, remember that there are no right or wrong answers for this one, because setting your goals depends on what your priorities are and what you want to achieve. Students, I will give you 10 seconds to do this activity. Are you ready? You may start now. Great! Time's up! So tell me, which one did you score 1 or the highest priority, and which one did you score 11 as your least priority? As for me, I'm putting reshape or tone my body to be the most important. What about you? What goal is the most important for you? Let me know. Now that you have figured out your top priority in fitness, let us now have a closer look and study the fitness pyramid. These are the different activities listed in the pyramid. And this indicates the number of times that a person should do these activities. On the top part of the pyramid, what advice is indicated with sitting, computer, and TV time. You are correct. It says here that we should cut down on those and have more time doing strength and flexibility activities at least twice a week. 3 to 5 times a week of cardio and other recreational activities, and as much as possible, more activities that require us to be more active. Now let us find out the different classifications of exercises that you may want to include in your fitness program. You may begin with improving on aerobic fitness. It makes you sweat, makes you breathe harder, and get your heart to beat or beating faster. This is to strengthen your heart and lungs and train your cardiovascular system to manage and deliver oxygen more quickly and efficiently throughout your body. Examples of aerobic activities include walking at a brisk pace, swimming, jogging, or even dancing. For you to be able to measure your heartbeats per minute, you must first know the specific points in the body where the heartbeat can be felt. The first one is apical side. You may feel your heartbeat by placing the heel of your hand over the left side of the chest. Second is the carotid pulse side. This is taken from the carotid artery just beside the larynx. Using light pressure from the tip of your pointer and middle fingers, remember, never check both carotid arteries at the same time. The third one is the radial pulse side. This is taken from the radial artery at the wrist in line with the thumb, using the tip of your pointer and middle finger. Last is the temporal pulse side. It can be obtained from the left or right temple with light pressure from the tips of the pointer and middle finger. The next classification of exercise that you may do is for your muscular strength. It improves the ability of the muscles to exert force during an activity such as lifting weights. Muscle strengthening exercises involve using your muscles to work against a resistance such as your body weight, elastic bands, or weights. Muscular endurance, on the other hand, is how many times you can lift or perform a certain amount of weight or activity. This resistance training helps increase both muscular strength and endurance. Resistance training such as weightlifting, push-ups, and crunches work your muscle by using dumbbells or your own body weight. And of course, bone strengthening exercises, or any weight-bearing activity that produces a force on the bone, is also important to overall health for children and adults. This force is usually produced by impact with the ground and result in bone growth in children and healthy maintenance of bone density in adults. Examples of bone strengthening activities include jumping, walking, jogging, and weightlifting exercises. As you can see, some exercises such as walking or jogging serve a dual purpose of strengthening our bones and our aerobic system. Don't forget your flexibility exercises like stretching your muscles that may improve the range of motion of your joints. They can improve your flexibility and reduce your risk of injury during sports and other activities. There are different kinds of stretching. One of them is static stretching. It is most often recommended for general fitness. With this type, you slowly ease into position and hold for 10 to 30 seconds before slowly releasing the stretch. Static stretching should be performed with warm muscles, such as after a warm-up or at the end of a workout. There are two forms of static stretching. The other one is dynamic stretching. It is a stretching with movement. The body transitions gradually into a position, and this movement is repeated as you increase your reach and your range of motion. Research has found that dynamic stretching is less beneficial than static stretching for increasing range of motion, but unlike static stretching, it is ideal during the pre-workout phase because it gently warms muscle while also stretching them. Now you know the different classifications and exercises that you may include when you start creating your fitness program. Let us check if you could classify the different exercises whether they are for aerobic fitness, muscular strength, or bone strengthening exercises. You may write your answers on a sheet of paper. Here are the exercises. I'll give you a few seconds more to finalize your answers. Time's up. Now let us answer. The following are for aerobic fitness, using treadmill, dancing, running, and swimming. For muscular strength, they are elastic band, push-up, and weightlifting. For bone strengthening exercises, we have brisk walking, stretching, and jogging. Another important thing that you need to learn is knowing what exercises targeted different muscle group. Which ones will develop your arms, your abdominals, and which ones are for your legs and glute muscles. Also for your heart or cardio. Let's see if you could tell which body part these exercises target. Group them whatever they are for. The arms, or for heart or cardio. Abdominals, legs, and glute muscles. Each exercise may be written more than once. Write your answers on a piece of paper. Each exercises may be used more than once. I will give you 15 seconds to answer. Time's up. For the arm muscles, these are push-up, planking, and arm circling. For the abdominals, planking, leg raise, and sit-ups. For cardio, we have high knees jog, jumping jacks, and jogging. And for the legs or glute muscles, they are the squats, lunge, leg raise, and jogging. Now let's find out how much you have learned in this episode by answering these questions. You have 3 seconds to answer each question. Number 1. Which physical activity is not an aerobic exercise? A. Hip-hop dancing. B. Jogging. C. Jump roping. Or D. Yoga. The correct answer is letter D, yoga. Number 2. What type of physical activity makes you sweat, causes you to breathe harder, and gets your heart beating faster compared when you are at rest? Is it A, aerobic exercise? B, aerobic fitness? C, bone strengthening? Or D, muscular strengthening? The correct answer is letter A, aerobic exercise. Let's move on to number 3. What is the ability of the muscles to exert force during an activity such as lifting weights? Is it A, aerobic exercise? B, fitness exercise? C, muscular strength? Or D, power strength? The correct answer is letter C, muscular strength. Number 4. Which one is taken from the radial artery at the wrist in line with the thumb using tips of the pointer and middle fingers? A. Apical, B. Carotid pulse, C. Radial pulse, or D. Temporal pulse. The correct answer is letter C, radial pulse. Number 5. Which of the following gets your heart pumping and your body moving? It also refers to the street-style dancing while you kick up your cardio with popping up and locking, breaking, top rocking, jerking, freezing, speeding, and sliding. Is it A, ballroom dance, B, synchronized swimming, C, yoga class, or D, Zumba class? The correct answer is letter D, Zumba class. Number 6. Which is the most important rule in setting a goal in making a fitness plan? A. Establish realistic ones. B. Establish goals that can be achieved in a very short time. C. Establish a frequency of 4 to 5 times per week to exercise. Or D. Establish a vigorous intensity workout to see the result right away. The correct answer is letter A, establish realistic ones. Number 7. What is the purpose of cooling down exercise? Letter A, prepare the muscle for intense activity. Letter B, increase heart rate and breathing rate. Letter C, elevate blood pressure and increase blood flow. Or letter D, allow the body to gradual transition in a near resting state. The answer is letter D, allow the body to gradual transition in a near resting state. Number 8. Which of the following type of training includes weightlifting, push-ups, and crunches, and working muscles by using dumbbell or own body weight? Is it A, cardio training, B, yoga, C, footwork training, or D, resistance training? The correct answer is letter D, resistance training. Number 9. It is most often recommended for general fitness. With this type, you slowly ease into the position and hold for 10 to 30 seconds before slowly releasing the stretch. Is it A, yoga, B, dynamic stretching, C, static stretching, or D, resistance training? The correct answer is letter C, static stretching. And for the last number, number 10, it is stretching with movement. The body transitions gradually into a position, and this movement is repeated as you increase your reach and range of motion. Is it A, yoga, B, dynamic stretching, C, static stretching, or D, resistance training? The correct answer is letter B, dynamic stretching. Do you love dancing? If you do, that's perfect. Because for your additional activity, I want you to look for any Zumba videos online and try it. You may share your experience with your parents, siblings, or with anyone in your house. And if you are confident enough, you may post it on your social media accounts, and don't forget to use the hashtag #HopeWithTeacherMike. Well, students, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed and learned a lot from our episode. Always remember, a healthy body makes a healthy mind. Join us again next time as we engage in more and fun physical activities towards achieving an active and healthy lifestyle. Once again, I'm Teacher Mike, your best hope teacher, saying thank you for watching DEPA TV, and I'll see you next time.
be no face-to-face classes.
We will be using our own teachers as broadcasters in this TV program.
Huwag kang mag-alala. Good morning, everyone. Are you ready?
What's the deepest hole that we can possibly dig? A hole that is so deep that you thought you could go to the center of the earth and reach on the other side. Is it possible? If you're curious about it, then this will be our adventure for today. Hello, scientists! It's me, Teacher Paul Gonzon, your adventure partner. I have a special treat for you because we are going camping. But before we go through our lesson, it's time for us to... Wait, what's that? Let's find out. Come and join me as we blast off the rocket ship of new learnings. Oops, yes, magnifying glass. Let's go and let's Earth. Imagine Earth.
Our lesson is to master the nature of Earth and Life Science intended for grade 11 senior high school. Today, we will be exploring the Earth's internal heat and magmatism. Here are our objectives. As we go navigate the lessons, you are expected to 1. Describe where the Earth's internal heat comes from. And 2. Describe how magma is formed.
Before we proceed, here are our reminders. Check your prior knowledge of the lesson from the junior high school science subject. Listen and pay attention to the details. And bring with you your paper and pen for jotting down important concepts of our lessons. January 12th of 2020, in the province of Batangas in Luzon, after 42 years, an active volcano spews ash up to 9 miles or 14 kilometers, a warning of a possible drastic explosion.
Taal volcano is a small volcano sitting within a much bigger caldera system. It contains a lake with an island that also contains a lake within the main crater. The volcano produced about 35 recorded eruptions since 3,580 BCE.
It is a small and attractive volcano, but it is considered among of the world's most dangerous, making 450,000 residents evacuate immediately within 40 kilometers vicinity of the caldera. But the question is, what makes a volcano dangerous? Is it the molten rock flowing from the volcano? Then, where is that molten rock coming from? On our trip today, we are going to find out the answers. Last time, we talked about processes by which it transforms the Earth's surface, brought about weathering and erosion, because of several factors like the water and wind. Oh, I thought we were going camping. Why are we here? In one of the hottest places that we can be. Are we going to camp here? Do you know where we are? Yes! We are on the top of a volcano. We're on the crater. It feels so hot in here. Whew! Volcanoes can give us important information about what the Earth looks like from the inside. Ouch! That hurts! If that was a real lava, that would be 700 to 1,200 degrees Celsius. Wait! If that lava came from this volcano, and it served as a conduit in the Earth's interior, what can we derive from this? Aha! The Earth is very hot inside. The heat inside of our planet moves continents, builds mountains, and causes earthquakes. But where does all of this heat inside the Earth come from? Scientists thought that the sources of the heat in our planet can be identified as primordial and radiogenic heat. When we say primordial heat, it is derived from the word primordialis, which means of the beginning. This is the internal heat energy generated from the beginning of the Earth's evolution. The major contribution of this internal heat is the accretional energy, which is the energy deposited during the early formation of the planet, while radiogenic heat is the heat generated by the long-term radioactive decay brought by the disintegration of natural radioactive elements inside the Earth, such as uranium, thorium, and potassium. Radioactive decay is spontaneously happening in all rocks. Rocks are radioactive because they contain radioactive elements. This radioactivity is part of the Earth's natural system and is the main cause of heat inside the Earth and the driving force for the Earth's tectonic system, which leads to volcanoes, earthquakes, and plate tectonics. Understanding radioactive decay leads us to understand the age of the Earth, the solar system, and the universe. Now this time, let's check what you have learned about the Earth's interior. Do you still remember the 3 major layers? Let's find out what's inside our planet. Come on and let's journey to the center of the Earth. Our planet is made up of layers. It's kind of like a hard-boiled egg. Think of the Earth's top layer as being like the shell of the egg. This layer is the thinnest and the outermost layer of the Earth. It can be found on continents and the ocean floor. What do we call this part of the Earth where we live? You got it! It's the crust. Earth's crust occupies less than 1% of the Earth's volume. It has 2 parts. We have the continental and the oceanic crust. The oceanic crust is 8 kilometers to 40 kilometers thick and is made of thinner, heavier basalt rock. On the other hand, the continental crust is typically from 30 to 50 kilometers thick and is mostly composed of less dense rocks than in the oceanic crust. Moving on, if we keep on digging down, we will eventually reach the next layer. What is this layer? Here's a hint. If the shell of the egg represents the crust, then how about the egg white? This part of the Earth is the mantle. Yes, it is. What makes mantle different from the crust? From what we can observe, this part of the Earth is the thickest, and it is subdivided into its upper and lower parts. It is about 2,900 kilometers thick and makes up a whopping 84% of the Earth's total volume. The temperature of the mantle varies greatly from 1,000 degrees Celsius near its boundary with the crust to 3,700 degrees Celsius near its boundary with the core. Now, we go to the center and the innermost part, which is and represents the egg yolk. It is what we call the core. You got it again! This is very hot and very dense ball-shaped core. It is found about 2,900 kilometers below the Earth's surface. Temperature range from 4,000 degrees Celsius to about 6,000 degrees Celsius, and are made up of iron and nickel. It has an inner and outer part wherein the inner is solid and the outer part is made up of liquid metal that spins, which gives the Earth its magnetic field. Also, the core serves as a storage of primordial heat that originates from times of accretion when the kinetic energy of colliding particles was transformed into thermal energy. It will take tens and thousands of years before the heat of the core can reach the Earth's surface. That is why we can live on the Earth's crust, because it is not hot like the inside. Remember that both the primordial and the radiogenic heat undergo heat transfer, and it plays an important role in the continuous changes and the development of our planet. Whenever there is a temperature difference, heat transfer occurs. It may happen rapidly, like when you're cooking using your metalwares, drying clothes, or having a barbecue on the picnic. There are many processes involving heat transfer, so that it is hard to imagine a situation where no heat transfer occurs. Yet every process involving heat transfer takes place by only 3 methods. What are these methods? We have conduction, convection, and radiation. Conduction is the process by which heat energy is transmitted through collisions between neighboring atoms or molecules. In other words, heat is transferred through molecular contact. A good example of this is the tip of the spoon being placed on a cup of hot coffee, in which the heat is transferred on all parts of the spoon, and not only at the tip exposed to the hot coffee. The heat can cause the molecules of the spoon to vibrate and collide, which transfers heat energy to other molecules of the spoon until the entire spoon becomes heated. Conduction happens effectively in solid materials. The next method is convection. Convection is a heat transfer through mass and density differences. Take a look at this lighted match. I think we all know that it is not wise for us to hold our hand over the flame of that lighted match, because eventually the flame will rise up and also release its heat energy. This is due to convection. The flame has caused the air to expand and becomes less dense than the surrounding air, and therefore floats upward, releasing some of its heat energy. This convection happens effectively in liquids and gases. And since the Earth's mantle is semi-solid, convection dominates the thermal conditions in the zones where large quantities of fluids like the molten rocks exist, and thus governs the heat transport in the fluid to outer core and the mantle. In convection current, the mantle of the Earth moves slowly because of the transfer of heat from the interior of the Earth up to the surface. These result in movement of tectonic plates, building mountains, volcanoes, and ocean ridges. The next process is radiation. Radiation is a heat transfer caused by wave motion. Let's go back to our lighted matchstick. We already know that because of convection, the heat energy of the flame will rise, but it is also going to travel outwards in the form of wave energy, called electromagnetic waves. And that is through the process of radiation. Radiation doesn't require any material for it to travel, thus it can occur in an open and empty space. The process of heat exchange between the sun and the Earth through radiation controls the temperatures at the Earth's surface. So, for us to be able to understand more clearly about the 3 processes of transferring heat, let's remember these words. In conduction, there is contact. In convection, there is mass or density difference. In radiation, it involves waves. After we explore the internal heat of our planet and in how it is being transferred, let us get to know this material ejected by a volcano. Now, let us talk about these semi-liquid hot molten rocks located beneath the Earth. It is called magma. This is found specifically in the melted mantle rock and oceanic plate. Magma is a molten rock found deep within the Earth. It is extremely hot with a temperature of about 700 to 1,300 degrees Celsius. Do you know the difference between magma and lava? Magma and lava are both molten rocks. However, they differ in location. Magma is found in the magma chamber of the volcano, while lava is found in the surface of the Earth once the volcano erupts. When magma rises and is released via volcanic eruptions, it is now called lava. Lava cools quickly when it is exposed to the Earth's atmosphere. As lava cools down, it becomes an igneous rock. This cooling of lava can create new lands. Magmatism is a process under the Earth's crust where the formation and movement of the magma occurs. So, where do this formation and movement take place? These happen in the lower part of the Earth's crust and in the upper portion of the mantle, known as the asthenosphere. The asthenosphere is a zone of Earth's mantle lying beneath the lithosphere. The asthenosphere extends from about 100 kilometers or 60 miles to about 700 kilometers or 450 miles below the Earth's surface. Looking at this figure, this pie graph shows the composition of magma. Now, let us identify the substances or the elements present in magma. Here are the questions. 1. Which of the following elements has the highest amount in the magma? The answer is the element oxygen, which is 46.6%. Number 2. Which of the following elements has the lowest amount in the magma? The answer is magnesium, with 2.1%. Number 3. What are the top 2 compositions of magma? The answer is oxygen and silicon. Now, after learning the compositions of magma, let us study the processes involved in the formation of magma. But before we proceed, let's have a recap about our previous lesson. Earth is divided into 3 general layers. The core is the superheated center, and the mantle is the thick middle layer, and the crust is the top layer on which we live. In the lower crust and upper mantle of the Earth is the magma present. It is formed through the process of partial melting. Maybe you're familiar with how ice cream melts. It is because heat is being introduced. Rocks do also melt. Let's check this out. This is how the different minerals in rocks undergo partial melting. Consider this solid rock. It contains different minerals such as quartz, feldspar, biotite, and hornblende. The first minerals that will melt are the quartz and some types of feldspar surrounded by magma. Next, minerals such as biotite and hornblende will melt last. This melting changes the composition of the magma. This time, let's find out how melting in the mantle occurs. Here are the 3 possible events. First that we are going to consider is an increase in temperature. Remember the method of heat transfer conduction? It occurs in the mantle. How does it happen? Heat is transferred from hotter molten rocks to the Earth's cold crust. During this heat transfer, magma rises and it is hot enough to melt the rock it touches. Second is decrease of pressure. Now, the rocks on the mantle remain solid when it is exposed to high pressure. During the convection process, these rocks tend to go upward and the pressure is reduced. What will occur? This makes the melting of magma. This is known as the compression melting. It often happens at divergent boundaries or onto a region of separating tectonic plates. The separation of the plates causes magma to rise below and cools down to form a new crust. Not only that, another site for the compression melting is at the mantle plumes. Mantle plumes are columns of hot rock that rise from the Earth's high-pressure core to its lower-pressure crust. When located beneath the ocean, these plumes, also known as hot spots, push magma into the seafloor. These volcanic mounds can grow into volcanic islands over millions of years of activity. An example of these is the Hawaiian island, which formed due to constant volcanic activity in the area. Lastly is the addition of volatiles. When water or carbon dioxide is included in the hot rocks, flux melting occurs. This makes the rock melt at lower temperatures. This creates magma in places where it originally maintained a solid structure. Water from the overlying subducting seafloor, or the oceanic plate, will lower the amounting temperature of the mantle, thus generating magma to rise to the surface. Science trivia! Welcome to the island born of fire, Camiguin Island. In our country, located in the northern Mindanao, Camiguin is a small volcanic island. The volcanic origin of the island province was formed from a series of volcanic eruptions and earthquakes thousands of years ago. Besides, it has 7 volcanoes and several volcanic domes. Magma can be classified into 3 types. Basaltic or mafic magma is low in silica, but is high in iron and magnesium. It is formed at mid-ocean ridges or hotspots of the oceanic crust. Rhyolitic or granitic magma is very high in silica content, but low in iron and magnesium. It is formed due to the partial melting of the continental crust. The last type is called andesitic or the intermediate magma. It is formed when the magma does not erupt but slowly crystallizes within the Earth's crust. This type of magma has a medium silica content. The viscosity of magma affects the violence of the eruption of volcanoes. It depends primarily on the magma composition and temperature. Let's blow air using a drinking straw in a glass of milkshake. The first thing that you would notice is that it is more difficult to blow air into the mixture because of its high viscosity. Secondly, if you succeed, the milkshake will be splattered and react vigorously. The milkshake's high viscosity makes the air difficult to escape and produces bigger and more explosive bubbles due to an increased pressure that was exerted. In a volcanic eruption, if magma is flowy or has a lower viscosity, the gases will just freely escape and lava will just spill quietly into the sides of the crater. But when magma is viscous, gases will accumulate and intense pressure is built, creating a more powerful explosion. Wow, that was an amazing adventure! It is so fascinating to see the beauty of our nature, which gave us these landforms called volcanoes.
Now let's have a recap. Number 1. There are 2 sources of internal heat of our planet, namely the radiogenic heat and the primordial heat. Radiogenic heat is the thermal energy released as a result of spontaneous nuclear disintegration, and the primordial heat is the heat energy that gradually gathered together by means of dispersion in the planet during its few million years of evolution. Number 2. There are 3 processes that heat can transfer. We have conduction, convection, and radiation. Number 3. Magma is composed of semi-liquid hot molten rocks located beneath the earth, specifically in the melted mantle rock and oceanic plate. Number 4. Magmatism is a process under the Earth's crust where formation and movement of magma occur.
Now, let me check if you have learned about our lessons today. Kindly get your paper and pen and let's answer by writing the letter of the correct answer. Do not forget to write your paper with numbers 1 to 5. You are only given 5 seconds to answer. Are you ready? Okay, here it is. Number 1. What is the type of magma with the lowest viscosity? A. Rhyolitic, B. Andesitic, C. Basaltic, D. A and B. The correct answer is basaltic. Basaltic lava contains 45 to 55% silica, which makes the lava to flow and the gases to escape freely and effortlessly. Number 2. The more explosive the eruption, the blank its magma. A. More viscous, B. Less viscous, C. Higher the silica, and D. Lower the silica. The answer is A and C. As we have discussed, the higher the silica content of the magma, the higher its viscosity or resistance to flow.
Number 3. This is a process involved in the formation of magma, wherein there is a presence of an upward force of the Earth's semi-solid mantle to an area of lower pressure caused by convection, causing melting of rocks inside the Earth's crust. A. Flux melting, B. Heat transfer, C. Decompression melting, and D. None.
The answer is decompression melting. This decompression melting happens at divergent plate boundaries or into a region of separating tectonic plates. Number 4. This type of magma has a medium silica content. A. Rhyolitic, B. Andesitic, C. Basaltic, and D. None. The answer is andesitic. This type of magma is formed when the magma does not erupt but slowly crystallizes within the Earth's crust, thus creating also a type of powerful eruption due to trapped volatile gases and medium viscosity of lava. And for the last number, number 5, what is the most abundant element in magmas? A. Oxygen, B. Silica, C. Magnesium, and D. B and C. The answer is oxygen. Congratulations, grade 11! Now that we know how magma is formed, the process involved, its types, chemical components, and how it affects the power of volcanic eruption. Do you want more about our planet? More features and fun-filled experience on the planet that harbors life. I am your adventure partner, Teacher Paul Guanzon, saying, imagine Earth on what we will explore tomorrow. I Earth, imagine Earth.
There will be no face-to-face classes.
We will be using our own teachers as broadcasters in this TV program.
Huwag kang mag-alala. Good morning, everyone. Are you ready? Yeah!
I shall return. These were the words of World War II hero General Douglas MacArthur before leaving the island of Corregidor in March 1942. The Guban City's West Central School 1 had been a witness to the fulfillment of General MacArthur's promise when he and his troops occupied its two-story home economics building shortly after his arrival at the Lingayen Gulf. This wooden edifice, which features a typical bahay na bato at kahoy construction, was designed by the first Filipino registered architect Tomas Mapua, then working for the Bureau of Public Works during the American period. A large balcony on the second floor served as the podium of General MacArthur in giving instructions to his officers and troops. The facade is made of yakal and yamban wood, while its windows are made of kapis enclosed in iron grills. The furniture, which includes a narrow bed, dresser, fixtures, desks, blackboards, and cabinets, were properly preserved to honor the building's historic character. Due to termite infestation and excessive flooding in the area, the building incurred severe damages. But through the initiative of the Department of Education and the city government of Dagupan, the building will undergo a complete restoration, not only to preserve history, but also serve the future generation. West Central School 1 Home Economics Building.
This is a wonderful example of how our history and our culture evolves. I therefore call on all of us to support this worthwhile project. Thank you very much.
Sa mga panahong ito, ngayon malapit ng July, dapat ang mga bata nasa classroom na nag-aaral, masaya, inihahatid ng mga magulang, but all these things at this point in time, wala.
Na kung saan sumalakay sa atin ang COVID-19 disease.
Paano enrollment? Paano pag-aaral? Sinong tutulong sa amin? These are worries. Very normal to parents like us. Papaano ng mga batang to?
Gusto po naming i-remind ang mga ating mahal na magulang na sila po ay magtiwala sa Department of Education.
At wag po tayong magpatalo na because of this pandemic, ihinto po ang pag-aaral ng ating mga anak.
Ginagawa po namin yung lahat ng aming makakaya para na sa ganon ay tuloy-tuloy po ang enrollment po ng mga estudyante po. Gumagamit po kami ng mga Learner Enrollment and Survey Form o yung tinatawag nating LESF para na sa ganon makapag-fill up na po yung mga magulang na wala pong access pagdating po sa internet.
Para doon sa coordination namin sa mga stakeholders, particularly doon po sa pagbibigay ng mga learners enrollment and survey form, pumupunta po kami by barangay.
Yung boxes na dinala sa mga barangay hall, na yung mga hindi nakapag-enroll ngayon ng online, doon ngayon i-drop yung mga enrollment form ng mga bata. At ang gagawin ng barangay, dadalhin ngayon sa school. At yung mga schools ang magpo-collect.
Masasabi namin na kami ay may kahandaan sa mga iba-ibang modality na gagamitin natin dahil hindi nga pwede ang face-to-face instruction.
Doon sa online ay nahihirapan po sila. So meron naman tayong tinatawag na modular.
Kami po sa DepEd ay hindi tumitigil kung paano namin may pagpatuloy ang edukasyon ng inyong mga anak. Kaya po, magtiwala lamang po tayo sa DepEd.
Thank you sa DepEd kasi kahit nasa pandemic tayo.
Marami naman po paraan na makapagpatuloy ang ating pag-aaral sa ating mga kabataan.
Ang ating kalusugan, ang ating safety, ang binabalanse natin.
Kami ay nananawagan. Alam namin na ang prosesong ito walang sapilitan. Ang prosesong ito ng enrollment ay ang final decision ay nasa parents, nasa guardians, at saka sa mga bata mismo. By the way, marami din kaming requests ng mga bata mismo na nagpapadala ng mensahe sa Secretary of Education na nagsasabing gusto ko nang mag-aral, gusto ko nang bumalik sa school, gusto ko nang ipagpatuloy ang aking learnings. Mga bata mismo ang nagsasabi. Sa mga lugar na kung halimbawa sobrang dami na sila at saka umaapaw na sa mga quota ang mga batang i-enroll, maraming parents na nakikiusap, pwede bang i-accommodate yung aming anak? Pwede bang i-accommodate yung aming apo? Kaya kami ay nakikinig sa mga pananawagan ito ng mga parents. At kami din sa DepEd, nanawagan din sa mga parents. Kayo ang magdedesisyon, sa inyo ang desisyon, nasa inyong kamay ang kinabukasan ng inyong learners. Maraming salamat.
Manood, makinig at matuto sa asignaturang Filipino. Magandang araw sa inyong lahat at welcome sa bagong episode ng Klase sa Filipino 11 kasama si Ma'am Lauren, ang inyo pong lingkod na gurong kaagapay sa pagtahak sa mga aralin, sa komunikasyon at pananaliksik sa wika at kulturang Pilipino. Kaya naman, ano pong hinihintay ninyo? Ihanda na ang inyong module, ballpen at papel dahil bagong araw na puno ng kaalaman ang ating Tinalakay natin noong nakaraan ang patakarang bilinggual. Binigyang diin natin ang progresibong hangarin nito na magkaroon ng pantay na katatasan at kahusayan sa paggamit ng Filipino at Ingles ang mga mag-aaral na Pilipino. Gayunpaman, naging mapanghamon ang implementasyon nito gaya ng iba pang polisiya at patakarang pangwika. Ayon nga sa paglalarawan ni Fuentes noong 2000, bigo ito dahil naobserbahan na hindi prioridad sa antas tersyarya ang edukasyong bilinggual. Una ring naitala ni Sibayan at Gonzales noong 1987 na hindi suportado ng mga paaralan ang paggamit ng wikang Filipino sa mga asignaturang dapat sana'y itinuturo sa Filipino. Kaugnay nito, naging bahagi ng inyong takdang aralin ang paggawa ng isang slogan kung paano ninyo tutugunan ang mga hamon ng bilingualismo sa ating edukasyon. Para sa episode natin ito, hindi lang isa, kundi 3 mag-aaral mula sa Caloocan National Science and Technology High School ang ating napili. Narito ang mga slogan nila. Ayon kay James Bagasin, magagamit man ito upang makipagsabayan, bilingualismo ang isa sa mga dahilan sa paglimot ng wikang kinagisnan. Binahagi naman ni Isabel Reyes, maraming wika ang maaari nating matutuhan, subalit Filipino muna ang ating pag-igihan. At panghuli, mula kay Kyla Mela Torre, wikang kinagisnan ang unang linangin upang hilaw na pagkatutoy hindi problemahin. Bilingualismo ay ipakilala kung ang mag-aaral ay handa na. Natatangi ang punto ninyo mga anak sa kabila ng pagkakaroon ng maraming wika o pagiging linguistically diverse ng ating bansa, ay kabalintunaang maituturing ang pagsulong ng patakarang gamitin ang Filipino at Ingles bilang wikang panturo sa mga paaralan. Masaya ako sa mga ibinahagi ninyong kasagutan. Tunay ngang lahat tayo ay may kakayahang makibahagi sa diskursong pangwika. Ipagpatuloy natin ang pagpapalakas ng Akademyang Tinig ng Kabataang Pilipino. Tandaan, kabahagi at tagapagmana tayo ng ating bayan. Maging malalim at mapanuri. #Pilipino para sa Filipino. Likas sa ating mga Pilipino ang pagiging multilingual. Dala ito ng pisikal na katangian ng ating bansa na arkipelago o pulo-pulo. Gayon din ang mayamang kasaysayan na bunga ng mahabang panahong pananakop ng ibang lahi sa ating bayan. Ngayong araw ay tatalakayan natin ang multilingualismo sa ating edukasyon. Pero ano nga ba ang multilingualismo? Ayon kina Aguilar et al. 2016, nauukol ito sa paggamit ng higit sa 2 wika bilang wikang panturo sa sistema ng edukasyon. Nangangahulugan ito ng paggamit ng unang wika o ang wikang pambansa at isa o higit pang internasyonal na wika sa sistema ng edukasyon. Mula sa pagbibigay turing na ito, masasabing angkop ang pulisiyang multilingual sa bansang gaya ng Pilipinas. Kaya nga higit lalong kailangang bigyang diin ang pag-aaral at intelektualisasyon ng wikang Filipino sapagkat ito ang ating wikang pambansa o wika na ating pagkakaunawaan kahit magkakaiba pa tayo ng unang wika. Alam niyo ba kung ilan ang mga wikang mayroon dito sa Pilipinas? Ayon kina Eberhard et al. Noong 2020, sa kanilang ika-23 edisyon ng Ethnologue, Languages of the World, na itaya ang 186 na wika sa Pilipinas. 184 dito ay buhay, samantalang 2 naman ay nalipol na. Sa mga nananatiling buhay na wika, ay 175 dito ang katutubo at 9 naman ang hindi. Institusyonal ang 37 dito, samantalang 68 ang hindi pa institusyonalisado. 38 ay nasa estado ng vigorous o natatamasa pa rin sa pang-araw-araw. 30 ay nanganganib at 11 ang malapit ng mawala. Panghuli, 3 dito ay hindi pa formal na naitatala. Ang edukasyong multilingual sa Pilipinas ay nakasalig sa unang wika ng mga mag-aaral. Ito ay batay sa kautosang pangkagawaran bilang 74, serye 2009. Kung babalik tanawan, taong 1999 pa lamang ay pinagtibay na ng UNESCO na ang ugnayan ng mag-aaral sa kanyang unang wika ay makapagpapalapit sa karanasang pampagkatuto ng mga aralin. Ang unang wika na siyang wika ng tahanan at komunidad ay normal na mas madali, komportable, pamilyar at natural na nagagamit ng mag-aaral sa pagpapahayag ng karanasan at saloobin. Gamit ang unang wika ay nabibigyang espasyo sa silid-aralan ang mga lokalisadong aklat at materyal na sumasalamin sa katutubong karanasan ng bawat rehiyon. Kailangan ba ang mga ito? Abay, opo. Esensyal na may saalang-alang na ang wikang panturo ay ang wikang naririnig o mismong wikang sinasalita ng mga mag-aaral sa kanyang kapaligiran. Mahalaga ito upang maiwasan ang kawalan ng koneksyon o alienasyon sa aralin o kaya ay sa buong sistema ng pag-aaral. Sa madaling sabi, saan ba mas madaling natututo ang mag-aaral? Hindi ba sa wikang kanyang nakagisnan at ginagamit na? Tandaan, magkaugnay ang kamalayang pangwika at ang pang-edukasyon sa pagsulong ng pambansang kaunlaran. Suportado rin ito ng pananaliksik ni Dr. Anna Taifalangaki noong 2004. Ayon sa kanya, kung ang unang wika ay hindi matatag, mahihirapan ang mga mag-aaral na matuto ng pangalawang wika. At ito ay magdudulot ng negatibong epekto sa kanilang akademikong gawain. Sa madaling sabi, kapag matibay ang unang wika ng isang mag-aaral, ay matagumpay na maitutulay ang pagkatuto ng ikalawang wika. Ayon pa rin kay Dr. Taifalangaki, hindi tama na ihantad o expose ang bata ng maaga sa pagkatuto ng pangalawang wika. Kailangan munang malinang ang kognitibong aspeto ng bata gamit ang kanyang unang wika. Kritikal ito at dapat na ilaan ang unang 12 taon sa pagkatuto ng unang wika ng bata. Malayo ito sa lente ng pagtataguyod ng edukasyong paurong dahil kaiba ito sa polisiyang bernakular noong 1950s. Ang paggamit ng wikang nakagisnan ng mag-aaral sa pagtuturo ay pagkilala na higit na natatamo ang kailangang kompetensi sa mga asignatura kung ito'y nauunawaan ng bata. Napatunayan ito sa Lubuagan Experiment noong 2006, kung saan ang distrito ng Lubuagan ang nakapagtala ng pinakamataas na marka sa National Achievement Test sa baitang 3 sa dibisyon ng Kalinga. Sila ay nagtamo ng 76.5% na katatasan sa pagbabasa sa Ingles, samantalang 76.44% naman para sa Filipino. Ang Lubuagan ay sumailalim sa first language component. Nangangahulugan, ang unang wika ang ginamit na medium sa pagtuturo sa lahat ng asignatura. Isinaalang-alang din sa kautosang pangkagawaran bilang 74 noong 2009 ang rekomendasyon ng mga institusyon na bigyan ng prioridad at kilalanin ang mahalagang gampanin ng unang wika sa pagpapahusay ng proseso ng pagkatuto at upang maisaayos ang sistema ng batayang edukasyon. Bahagi ng K-12 curriculum na ipinatutupad ng DepEd na ang unang wika ay wikang panturo sa kindergarten hanggang baitang 3. Ang patakaran na ito ay nakapaloob sa Department Order No. 16, Series of 2012 na may pamagat na Guidelines on the Implementation of the Mother Tongue-Based Multilingual Education o MTB-MLE. Nagsimulang ipatupad ang patakarang ito sa taong panuruan 2012-2013. Para naman sa ating deaf community, ang Filipino Sign Language ay binigyang pagkilala sa ilalim ng Republic Act No. 11106 bilang pambansang sign language at may mandatong magamit sa mga paaralan, media at lugar ng trabaho. Ang FSL ay may hiwalay at autonomous sa sistema mula sa sinasalitang Filipino. Ito ay nakikita at ginagamitan ng pagkilos. Ang impormasyon ay naipahahatid sa pamamagitan ng hugis, paglalapat, kilos, kumpas ng kamay, ekspresyon ng muka, at galaw ng katawan. Gamit ang FSL bilang unang wika, ang mag-aaral na bahagi ng deaf community ay inaasahan na matutong sumulat sa Ingles at sa iba pang wika. Natapos na natin ang aralin ngayong araw. Inaasahan ko na unawaan ninyo ang ating mga tinalakay. At upang mapag-igi pa ang inyong natutuhan, ay mayroon tayong maiksing gawain. Punan ang column na makikita sa inyong screen. Natapos na natin ang talakayan hinggil sa edukasyong multilingual. Ngayon naman, ating suriin ang inyong natutuhan. Susubukin ko ang inyong katatasan at kahusayan sa pagpapaliwanag ng mga konseptong kaugnay ng multilingualismo. Handa na ba kayo? Bilang isa, paano nakatutulong ang unang wika ng mag-aaral upang higit na maunawaan ang mga aralin? Ikalawa, hindi ba mahuhuli ang bansang Pilipinas sa pandaigdigang kalakalan at industriya sa ilalim ng edukasyong multilingual na nakasalig sa unang wika? At ikatlo, bakit mahalagang maisagawa ang lokalisasyon ng aklat para sa mga mag-aaral na hindi Tagalog? Ikaapat, sa iyong palagay, maituturing ba na multilingual ang Pilipinas? Patunayan. At panghuli, bilang 5, paano nakatutulong ang edukasyong multilingual sa preserbasyon ng diversidad sa kultura at wika ng Pilipinas? Bilang 1, paano nakatutulong ang unang wika ng mag-aaral sa higit na pag-unawa ng mga aralin? Pinagtibay ng UNESCO na ang ugnayan ng mag-aaral sa kanyang unang wika ay nakapagpapalapit sa karanasang pampagkatuto ng mga aralin. Gamit ang unang wika ay mas madaling mauunawaan at maiuugnay ng mag-aaral ang mga aralin sa kanyang buhay sa kadahilan ng ito ay kanyang nauunawaan at palasak na sinasalita sa kanyang tahanan at komunidad. Ganap niyang maaangkin at maiiwasan ang alienasyon sa mga paksang pinag-uusapan. Gayun din, kapag natural at komportableng na ipahahayag ng mag-aaral ang kanyang ideya at saloobin, ay mas natatamo ang kailangang kompetensi. Bilang patunay, andyan ang Lubuagan Experiment na sumailalim sa First Language Component noong 2006. Ikalawang bilang, hindi ba mahuhuli ang bansang Pilipinas sa pandaigdigang kalakalan at industriya sa ilalim ng edukasyong multilingual na nakasalig sa unang wika? Isa ito sa maling konsepto ng tao sa edukasyong multilingual. Sang-ayon sa pananaliksik ni Dr. Ana Taifalangaki noong 2004, kung ang unang wika ng bata ay hindi matatag at kagyat na ihahantad o i-expose sa pagkatuto ng anumang pangalawang wika, ay maaari itong magdulot ng negatibong epekto sa akademikong gawain ng mag-aaral. Malinaw na ang sandigan ng edukasyong multilingual ay ang paggamit ng wikang nakagisnan ng isang bata upang mas madali at epektibong maunawaan ang mga aralin. Sa madaling sabi, kung nauunawaan ng mag-aaral ang aralin, ay mas natatamo niya ang kailangang kompetensi. At ang mga kompetensi namang ito ang siyang kahingian ng pandaigdigang merkado. Ikatlong bilang. Bakit mahalagang maisagawa ang lokalisasyon ng aklat para sa mga mag-aaral na di Tagalog? Ang pagbibigay ng espasyo sa mga silid-aralan ng mga lokalisadong aklat at materyal ay tugon sa pangangailangan na masalamin ang katutubong karanasan ng bawat rehiyon. Ang hakbang na ito ay upang epektibong maituro ang mga pangunahing pagpapahalaga natin bilang mga Pilipino. Daan ito upang maisalin ang kaalamang teknikal at siyentipiko sa mga katutubong wika. Ika-4 na bilang, sa iyong palagay, maituturing ba na multilingual ang Pilipinas? Patunayan. Likas sa ating mga Pilipino ang pagiging multilingual. Dala ito ng pisikal na katangian ng ating bansa na pulo-pulo. Gayon din ang mayamang kasaysayan na bunga ng mahabang panahong pananakop ng ibang lahi sa ating bayan. Batay rin sa naitala na ika-23 edisyon ng Ethnologue, Languages of the World, ay mayroong 186 na wika sa Pilipinas. 184 dito ay buhay, samantalang 2 naman ay nalipol na. Bilang karagdagan, ang dating Pangulong Benigno Aquino III ay minsan ding nanindigan kung bakit tayo multilingual. Aniya, pinag-aaralan natin ng Ingles upang makaugnay sa daigdig. Samantalang ginagamit natin ng Filipino upang magsilbing tulay sa pagkakaunawaang panlahat. At pinangangalagaan natin ang ating unang wika upang ingatan ang ating kultural na pagkakakilanlan. Mula sa mga pagbibigay turing na ito, masasabing multilingual ang bansang Pilipinas. Ika-5 bilang, paano nakatutulong ang edukasyong multilingual sa preserbasyon ng diversidad na kultura at wika ng Pilipinas? Mahalaga ang ginagampanang papel ng polisiyang edukasyong multilingual na nakabatay sa unang wika dahil nagbubukas ito ng oportunidad na maggamit, mapayaman at mapanatiling buhay ang wika sa Pilipinas. Sa pamamagitan nito ay epektibong naituturo ang pangunahing pagpapahalaga ng isang lahi, gaya ng damdaming patriotismo, pagmamahal sa kapwa, pangangalaga sa kapaligiran, pagmamahal sa katutubong kultura, at marami pang iba. Sa makatuwid, ang diversidad ng panlipunan at pangkulturang pagkakakilanlan ng Pilipinas ay nabibigyang halaga. Naiiwasan ang pagkalipol ng mga karunungang kaakibat ng mga wikang ito. Gayon din ang pagkawala ng sibilisasyong gumagamit nito. Binabati kita sa ipinakita mong pagtsatsaga at kahusayan. Marami ka bang natutuhan sa naging talakayan natin ngayong araw? Mahusay! Ngayon, bilang inyong takdang aralin, nais kong suriin ninyo ang naging mababang ranking ng Pilipinas sa nakalipas sa Program for International Student Assessment o PISA. At ano ang maaaring implikasyon nito sa polisiyang multilingual sa ating edukasyon? Sa susunod nating episode ay nais kong magsaliksik kayo hinggil sa variety at varyasyon ng wika. Hanggang sa susunod na pagkikita, muli, ito ang inyong guro sa Filipino na nagpapaalalang wikang Filipino'y gamitin at paunlarin. Ito'y sariling atin. Paalam!
The Department of Education supports the journalism programs and projects as stipulated in Republic Act No. 7079, which mandates the development and growth of campus journalism as a means of strengthening ethical values, encouraging critical and creative thinking, and developing moral character and personal discipline of the Filipino youth. The Special Program in Journalism and the National Schools Press Conference provide avenues to realize the principles reflected in the Campus Journalism Act of 1991. Integral in the journalism program is strengthening the advocacy of producing a news-literate society. This can be done by purposeful information dissemination through various modalities for news consumers not just to be aware of what's happening, but to influence decision on what needs to be done. In the current context, news reliance is customary among household members, and this requires the news consumers to detect the authenticity of information provided. Before we figure out what is in store for us today, let us intently listen to the messages of Assistant Secretary for Curriculum and Instruction, Alma Ruby C. Torrio, and Bureau of Curriculum Development Director, Jocelyn D.R. Andaya.
Good day to all of you, especially to our student televiewers. The current context makes all of us, especially the students, dependent on news, specifically in waiting for updates about education. The news consumption is advisable. There is a need to check that the information we get is real or authentic. The proliferation of fake news has an adverse effect on the mindset, which leads to how we perceive people, things, or circumstances. Hence, vital to the current technological sphere is educating the viewing public, specifically the students, on how to spot fake news. Regarded as digital natives, students' news literacy includes the ability to differentiate what authentic news is from what is not. The Department of Education strongly believes that a progressive nation is composed of a well-informed citizenry. Thus, educated news consumers help in making informed decisions. This is to say that reliance on credible news sources is highly encouraged. Today, we are with you as you learn profoundly about checking news sources and verifying details of the news shared in various platforms. I commend the Bureau of Curriculum Development through its journalism programs and projects, which help shape young journalists to be purveyors of truth and disseminators of accurate and credible information. Let me take this opportunity to thank our education stakeholders for continuously supporting our journalism-related endeavors. Our gratitude to the resource persons whose passion is to share their knowledge for the viewers to be enlightened on matters concerning news literacy. Have a fun-filled learning session and mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Good day, our dear televiewers. Just like all of you, I believe that being informed is empowering, but getting the right information is liberating. It is timely that education stakeholders tune in to watch educational programs that ensure continuous learning on the part of our students. At a time when dependency on multimedia instruction is fast becoming the norm, we also need to be educated on the principles of journalism as consumers of news. The truth is, it is beneficial to check the authenticity of the news prior to sharing it with others. Thus, accounting for credible news sources must be an integral part of our routine. We are accustomed to checking news items on broadsheets, on radio, and on television. We even do online checking of news items. And since journalism influences both the producers and consumers of news, fact-checking and source vetting become imperative. This proves that journalism is indeed a collaborative enterprise. This day initializes the initiative of the Department of Education to impart invaluable knowledge to the televiewers on the key concepts and principles of purposeful and responsible journalism. The Bureau of Curriculum Development supports the journalism-related undertakings by spearheading programs and projects for student journalists to live by the tenets of their target profession, thereby contributing to national transformation. With today's segment, I am certain that the viewers, especially the students and parents of various households, will be more introspective in checking for news content and sources. We hope that as you watch, you also list down the significant information shared by all our resource persons. Let us remember that making use of correct information, specifically during these times, is not only knowledge gaining, but also life-saving. Always remember that at the end of the day, we all deserve the truth. Have a productive day, everyone, and peace and all good to all of you.
Have you been victimized by fake news? Was there a time when you believed in something just to discover later on that it was not true? Today, we invite you to join us not just to determine ways on how to spot fake news, but to gain deeper understanding of what fake news really is and be knowledgeable about the danger that such news brings. With us are two journalism advocates whose expertise is in line with the topic we wish to share with you today. They will guide us in understanding what fake news is and help us in spotting fake news.
The internet, particularly social media, has become a part of life, especially for Filipinos in the urban areas. The number of Filipinos who use the internet versus the total population, or what they call the internet penetration rate, has increased significantly since the early 2000s. As of 2019, about 79 million Filipinos out of 110 million use the internet. That means an internet penetration rate of about 72%, a staggering increase of more than 3,300% from the figures of 2000. Now, it's not surprising that the internet penetration rate in the country is rapidly increasing as more and more Filipinos use the internet for a wide array of life transactions, from education to banking to shopping to navigation, among others. The Philippines is also ranked 12 worldwide in terms of the number of internet users as of the first quarter of 2020. And it ranks higher than many developed or bigger countries, which is quite ironic, especially given the fact that it has one of the slowest average internet speeds in the world. Furthermore, for 4 consecutive years, our country has been at the top spot globally in terms of the amount of time that Filipinos spend on social media. Filipinos spend an average of 3 hours and 53 minutes, about 4 hours, on social media every day, way above the time spent by people from more developed countries or bigger countries. Hence the label social media capital of the world.
What is fake news?
Now, one of the biggest setbacks with the rise of the internet or the internet coming of age is the proliferation or the spread of fake news online. Of course, the term fake news is in a way already self-explanatory. It is obviously false information, created or circulated on purpose or not on purpose, to deceive readers, shift public opinion, or even afflict harm to a person or group. Some scholars differentiate between fake news and false information. Fake news is said to be narrower in scope as it refers only to political affairs stories, while false information is broader because it goes beyond current political affairs or it goes beyond news. In other words, false information is disinformation across a broader range of topics, not just politics, and also a broader range of genres, not just news. Fake news can be online misinformation or false information that is spread without political agenda or motive and is usually just unintended distortion of content or information. Or it can be online disinformation, which refers to false information that is systematically spread by groups or individuals with political intent or profit motive. According to several studies, there really are paid networks of disinformation that employ troll farms and spread fake news in the Philippine online sphere. The motive is usually to shift public opinion in favor of someone or a group or an idea. Fake news can be quotes attributed to the person or the group who did not say these things at all. And we have a lot of these online and especially on Facebook. As you can see, here are the examples. Or it can be news of events that did not really happen or were told in an exaggerated manner. Or it could be what people call clickbait headlines or clickbait webpage titles, which are written using language of sensationalism. So here are some of the examples. But they do not really represent the content accurately, if there is even an accurate story to begin with. Rarely, false information can be an actual story from a legitimate media firm that was written based on only one or very few sources or based on unreliable sources, and the writer or the reporter failed to verify the information prior to publication. However, journalists, especially at this time, are very keen on verifying information and providing proof for their stories. For example, accompanying photos of the event are also published to play their role as beacon of reliability, so to speak, or to avoid being tagged as peddlers of fake news, especially at this time when journalism is burdened by the task to distinguish itself, to establish a brand of being a source of reliable information. In my study on Philippine news practices in the time of the internet, most journalists in the sample reported that their newsrooms modified existing practices or added new practices in response to the rise of disinformation or systematic disinformation and the rise of agents that try to delegitimize or even demonize journalism. An example of these practices is more stringent fact-checking and more ways to engage the audience, get their attention amid the many other alternative sources of content.
What are the statistics on fake news?
In a 2018 Pulse Asia survey, majority of the Filipinos in the sample changed their views about politics and government because of something they had read, seen, or listened to over the internet. Now this further shows the heavy influence of the internet over how Filipinos perceive the world or their society. And this underscores the importance of being able to evaluate online information and spot fake news. Education or internet literacy or media literacy plays a crucial role because social media networks can only do so much. They can reduce the incidence of fake news, but not totally weed out fake news from their sites. What is encouraging, though, is the fact that Filipinos are more likely to be aware of the existence of fake news. In another Pulse Asia survey in 2018, 88% of Filipinos in the sample said that they are aware of fake news circulating in social media. Therefore, it appears that there is a high concern over the proliferation of fake news, and that's a good start.
How does fake news affect the society?
Fake news or online mis- and disinformation can severely impact society in many ways. In this time of the COVID-19 pandemic crisis, for example, false information about virus transmission, vaccine discovery, and other distortions of scientific information can be a matter of life or death. False information about ways of preventing COVID-19 transmission, for example, that do not have any scientific basis whatsoever, were circulated on Facebook about a month ago. And the problem is that a lot of people already shared that content, which could pose health risks to people who believe it. Fake news about a vaccine being discovered or mass-produced can also give false hope to people. Fake news about a product can lead to financial losses to business enterprises, while fake news about individuals can damage their reputation and harm their emotional well-being, even in the years to come. Fake news can even be detrimental to a democracy such as ours, because it can sabotage political discussions online.
What laws or policies can be violated by people or parties that spread fake news?
Because fake news is a relatively new concept, laws that criminally penalize the peddling of fake news have yet to be passed. The Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012 punishes cyber libel, or the publication of malicious online content, real or imaginary, that could harm the reputation of a person. In this unique time of the pandemic crisis, the government also passed the Bayanihan Hilas 1 Act, which, during its effectivity, penalized the peddling of fake news. Social media networks have also taken some steps in trying to address the fake news problem. Facebook, for example, hired independent content verifiers. Repeated sharing of fake news can also get your account disabled. However, at the end of the day, effective education on spotting fake news or evaluating online information is still the best weapon against fake news.
In recent years, we've increasingly seen or heard the use of the term fake news. But fake news is not something new. However, the way it is being passed around has changed along with the technologies available to humans. From spoken word to printed materials and now to social media, bogus stories can reach more people more quickly than ever before. But we should not be afraid of fake news. By developing the right skills, we can tell the truth from false information. I'm Kuya Jansen, and here are a few tips in identifying fake news. Number 1. Check the source. Check the About page of the source for information on the owner of the web page. Make sure that the content you see on the site meets the standards of quality journalism. Inspect the site's URL, because a lot of fake sites create a URL that is similar to the URL of a legitimate news site, and this may go unnoticed by an untrained eye. Number 2. Read beyond the headline. Some headlines may sound exaggerated or provocative, and this must be a sign for you to read a little more before sharing the information. Even in legitimate news sites, the headline doesn't always tell the whole story. Number 3. Check the author. The article author's name can be seen on the byline, which is usually found below the title. Look up the author and see the other things they've written. Sometimes, the author is not even real. If there is no author, you may not want to trust it. Number 4. Check supporting sources. Check the source of the information or data presented in the article. one of the ways that fake news spread is when people keep repeating or sharing the same information but no one has verified it. Determine if the information actually supports the story. There are instances where the institution or the quote found in the article is not real. Number 5. Check the date. Legitimate information, when shared without its proper context or reposted to make it appear as relevant to the current event, may be considered as fake news if it ends up deceiving the public. Number 6. Is it a joke? Learn the difference between news and satire. Most satires are funny, ironic, and exaggerated, as they are meant to entertain and criticize. Normally, it is labeled as such, but remember that this is not news. It is creative work. Number 7. Check your biases. In psychology, confirmation bias is the tendency to search for, interpret, or favor information that confirms or supports one's beliefs or values, while discounting information that doesn't. You might want to double-check that your own beliefs or emotions aren't clouding your judgment. Number 8. Ask the experts. Ask from experts or cross-check with fact-checking organizations or websites to know whether the news is verified and accurate. Seek advice from official sources such as government websites. Lastly, use your common sense. While news sources have the duty to report facts objectively and without bias, we readers remain to be the first line of defense against fake news. It is our job to verify the information that we are reading. Always check and think critically.
That has been a great learning experience. I am sure that by now, the following questions have been answered. What is fake news? Are there data available on fake news dependency? How does fake news affect the society? What laws or policies can be violated by people or parties that spread fake news? What words are associated with fake news? How do we spot fake news? Today, we have also learned how to spot fake news. So next time we refer to the news, we can do the following. Check the source, read beyond the headline, check the author, check supporting sources, check the date, check your biases, ask the experts. That's all that we have for today. Let us remember that information we get from credible sources is always enlightening and at this point in time, life-saving. Happy day, everyone!
Ang bayan ko'y tanging ikaw, Pilipinas kong mahal, ang puso ko at buhay man, sa iyo'y ibibigay, tungkulin kong gagampanan, na lagi kang paglingkuran, ang laya mo'y papantayan, Pilipinas kong hirang. Ang bayan ko'y tanging ikaw, Pilipinas kong mahal, ang puso ko at buhay man, sa iyo'y ibibigay, tungkulin kong gagampanan, na lagi kang paglingkuran, ang laya mo'y babantayan, Pilipinas kong hirang. Ang laya mo'y babantayan, Pinaskong hirap.